Welcome to HOSTility. I am the man who went to bed at 7 a.m. this morning, woke up at 10 a.m. this morning, and just had breakfast 45 minutes ago, Forrest Valkai. And I am joined today by my friend Hazel Thayer. Hazel, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I relate to that so much. For some reason this week, I don't know, I'm going to blame daylight savings, even though that makes literally no sense. But this week is like, what if we slept for 12 hours?
Right? You know,
and
who's going to
nobody's
stop
stopping
us, you know?
me. Nobody. No, that's why I'm self-employed.
Exactly. I wouldn't work in any other setting. So I'm super excited today because normally I'm a host on Skeptalk. Usually I like to do the fast-paced, lots of calls, real weirdness, but I wanted to take some time today to really dig in to some more interesting issues and just the meat of the world around us. And you're the perfect person to talk about this stuff with because you're an economist and you know a lot of things about environmentalism as well. And it's really cool. I found you on the TikToks. We've been mutuals for a while now. But I would much rather have you explain everything about yourself because everybody already knows me and nobody gives a shit. So like, who are you and what do you do? Tell me about you.
Oh, I gotta say I'm not an economist before the economists get mad. I'm not an I do like, I know a lot about economics. You know, I'm educated in economics. I have a degree theoretically somewhere in this bookshelf. But mainly I just talk about economics. Particularly, yes, climate economics. My elevator pitch for myself is there are a lot of climate science communicators who are helping people understand what's going on with climate change, whether or not it's real. It is. But there's not a lot of people talking about most of the solutions now are unfortunately economic and policy solutions. Like the technology is locked in, the science is locked in. We got that. Now we just need to make the government make laws so that we fix climate change. Easy, right? So that's where I come in.
Yeah.
Talk about boring stuff like carbon taxes and try and make it interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, what's the biggest thing that like when you like, I shouldn't pin you down to like one particular, but like when you get on TikTok or any other platform, like what's the main message that you're trying to get out there? Like, what are you hoping to convey to people?
Well, I'm not going to like pick a specific kind of legislation or anything. I think that the main question that I get, because climate space is like, oh, what can I do? What can I do to fix things? And a lot of times we say, individual action, like eat less meat, recycle. But the thing that I want to tell everybody all the time is learn what the solutions are and then talk about them to other people, even if it makes you seem a little annoying, even if you're ruining the dinner party. Then demand them from whoever's in charge, corporations, governments, mostly governments, local governments, federal governments, whatever, wherever you can demand them. So that's the solution to climate change, everybody. That's all there is. Easy, right?
Yeah, it's all we have to do is make the government work for the people instead of corporations. It works all the time, right? It's super simple.
Yeah, no problem.
So like one of the biggest things that like I have struggled with, and you've already hit the nail on the head. You already said the thing that I was hoping you were going to say, which is talking about the difference between like individual responsibility. We are all in this together. We all have to do our part, and then actually holding the government and these major corporations accountable, because that not a lot of people are tuned into the idea that like this whole idea of reducing your own carbon footprint and we should all be driving less and eating less meat and saving water and all this. A lot, like, sure, that would help a tiny fraction. If we all did that, then we would probably save as much of our environment as ExxonMobil destroys in 45 minutes. And so, like, the idea that is actually part of the bullshit propaganda being pushed by these fossil fuel industries to try to pass the blame to us instead of helping it for themselves. Like, that's something so important that I wish more people understood.
Yeah, Forrest, what if I logged on and was like, all right, guys, what we got to do, recycle, 10-minute showers. You gotta take the stairs instead of the elevator. Like
no straws.
Yeah.
Immediately cut the tape.
Well, never mind, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating because like these, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, but like this is what I want to like get out there to the people today is that like, not only have these fossil fuel industries known about what they're doing, companies known about what they're doing, they invented the science. Like the science of climate change came out of, I believe it was ExxonMobil, right? It was their climate scientists. Yeah. And not only did they know what they were doing, they were able to get it so accurately. They were like, okay, so by this year, we should have melted enough ice that we can now drill in this location. And so, like,
hence Willow.
Yeah, oh my God, I was gonna get to Willow, and I'm so glad you're there with me.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. Like, they spent so much time and money trying to cover up the thing that they discovered, and then trying to get people to doubt the thing that they discovered, and now trying to blame us for the thing that they discovered. Like, how do you handle that? How do you get that across to people, and how do you argue this thing with that in mind? How do you like navigate this space?
First of all, it was BP that popularized the concept of a personal carbon footprint. So obviously we had the idea of ecological carbon footprint beforehand. I have this horrifying book with a foot on it. This is like really old. It's older than me, but it's like, so the idea of a carbon footprint came a while ago, but then BP was like, what if we made it about you? So yeah, BP, thanks. What I would say is, so it's a little frustrating because there seem to be two camps, and I just want to smush them together, because there's the camp of there's no ethical consumption. I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to drive my SUV around like I'm going to do a Shein haul because there's no ethical consumption and the world is ending. And I'm like, don't do that. But on the other hand, there are people who think that the only solution is personal choices, which is also not true. And generally, people making personal choices will spur them to make political choices. We're like, I spent 10 minutes sorting through my fucking recycling. Sorry, can I swear on here?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I spent 10 minutes sorting through my recycling, just for, you guys to pave over an entire forest. Like, I don't think so. So, there's room for both. And especially if you live comfortably in a developed country, like, it's partly your problem. It's not all your problem. And you have the unique political and economic ability to do something about it that like 80-90% of the world doesn't do. So that's my tirade on personal responsibility. It's BS made up by companies to like distract us from the real issues, but it's also like true. So
right.
But
slightly true. Yeah. Don't put all the blame on yourself, but also don't really leave the faucet running all day. Right.
If you're going to spend 15 minutes sorting through recycling or 15 minutes calling your representatives and being like, please don't pave over this forest, maybe do that one, but they're both important.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's so huge because like a lot of people like they succumb to this climate doom, you know what I mean? Especially like our generation and younger. I hear this a lot of time, like, well, we're already fucked. It's already all over. We, the report said that we had to hit carbon neutrality 10 years ago, and now we're pushing it back to 15 years from now. And like, we've already increased like 1 degree and we're going up another 5, but so like, what is a way that you found, if there is any, to kind of like bridge that gap between, the people you're talking to and like let them know that like, yes, this is fucking perilous. And yes, we're already too late for a lot of things. However, it's still really important to try because we're not too late for all of it. So like, how do you get there?
I think that climate doomerism is so privileged. It's such a privileged take because like, first of all, again, my main audience is like US, Canada, maybe like, other developed, rich English speaking countries. And it's like, if you're going to give up, you're not the main victim here. Like, sure, your life is going to be shittier in 5 years or so, or 5 years, in like 10, 15, 20, currently shittier because of climate change. But like, it's mainly affecting people who are not you and people who do not have the privileges and I've said privileges a lot of time for somebody who has blue hair. Sorry. But you know what I mean? It's like, this is your problem. And so like, and the other thing is that it's not this one tipping point of like, we hit 1.5, we're done. Like, oh, well, we tried, like, pack it up, everybody. World's over. Right. It's more like, and this is what the scientists are saying as well, every fraction of a degree counts. Every fraction of a degree is like countless human lives. Like, I don't want to ballpark it, but whatever you're thinking, it's probably higher. And so if you're like, I'm not going to try because we've passed 1.5 or we're probably going to pass 1.5, like if we pass 2, that is much worse, and we can still not easily, we can still absolutely achieve that if we really like try and make a big deal about it. So yeah, it's very frustrating again, because there's the camps of the doomer people and the camps of the this isn't even happening, and it's like it's almost the same a little bit.
It is deeply frustrating. It's have to deal with both the people who say it isn't happening and both the people who say that it's already too late, and you have this little sliver of hopeful, fiery peoples in the middle there that we're trying to mobilize. So like I want to hear everything else about what you think about these topics. I do want to quickly touch on Willow before we jump into calls as well. Can you briefly explain, because I made a video about it, everybody made a video about it, but I want to hear it from you because you're more qualified to talk about it than me. Tell me a little bit just about Willow, what it is, and why it sucks ass.
Yeah, I think you've touched on the science more of it, so you can talk about that. It's the Arctic. It's a very sensitive ecosystem that we should not be screwing with. Biden has approved, I think it's the equivalent of 76 coal-fired power plants worth of emissions that are going to be drilled out of this sensitive spot in the Arctic. However, I know things about the economics of it, so that's what I know. And their main thing is, we can't afford not to do this, you guys, like the economy, you guys, and that's ridiculous. So the main things are, we need the tax revenue. The tax revenue is at least a quarter of the projected climate damage that it's going to cause. I think it's something like, don't quote me on this, I think it's something like a projected by ConocoPhillips. So this is obviously way more, but $5 billion of tax revenue versus $20+ billion of climate damage. So wow, that's profit for nobody. The second thing is jobs. We got to have the jobs. We got to stimulate the Alaskan economy. ConocoPhillips on their website have said 300 jobs. We're going to get 300 permanent jobs from this. We're going to get a few thousand temporary jobs, maybe 300 permanent jobs. So good for those 300 people. I feel like that's not really worth destroying a very sensitive ecosystem. And the final part of it that I want to scream about on here is that you gotta refreeze the ice. So they could have refrozen this, they couldn't actually, but refreezing the Arctic to drill into it. So just think about that for a second. Wow.
It drives me up.
That's what I have to say. But yes, so Willow, not a fan, but it has been approved, and now it's up to lawsuits to hopefully stop it or slow it down enough until we get a more climate-friendly government. We'll see. I don't know.
What kills me is that this is if I remember correctly, this wouldn't actually show any benefits. It wouldn't actually produce anything for 10 years, right?
Yes, thank you. I forgot about that. It's not projected. So it's not going to help the energy crisis that we're facing, or really it's going to cause an energy crisis by making us more dependent on petroleum when we really should not be. So we're
plus for all this pomp and circumstance about we're phasing out fossil fuels. Cool. So we have a 5-year plan of slowly phasing out fossil fuels, and then in 10 years we'll have a fuck ton more. What? And this is the largest oil development project. This is the largest oil development project currently proposed on American public land. So it's not only is it an investment into more of the same, it's the biggest possible investment into more of the same. And I think
it's crazy.
I think it was
want to know if it's gonna how much of the IRA it's gonna wipe out. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Oh no, you're fine.
I want to know how much of the IRA
they're talking about it now.
Yeah. Oh God. Well,
they're talking about now that over 1 million people sent letters and over 3 million people signed petitions online and things like this, and they of course approved it anyway because fuck us, we're just the voters, and
true.
they're now saying, well, we chose this plan that's like only 40% of what we're asking for, as if we couldn't fucking read, and it's like 98% of what they asked for. It's just it's nuts. And you're right. Yeah, I've just double checked my numbers here. It was the carbon emissions of 76 coal-fired power plants. And it's right next to an indigenous community that was already devastated when the same company was ConocoPhillips, right? The same company had a massive gas leak last year in the same location and devastated this town that they're now building a fucking giant drilling site next to.
But think of those wild, 300 Alaskans. Think of those 300 Alaskans and how we're going to get them jobs. Thank God. All that economic stimulation.
Yeah, it drives me freaking nuts, yo.
Spent on fucking bailouts anyway.
It's crazy because, I understand you study economics, you have a degree in economics, and you talk about environmental. I'm a biologist, and so we have different terminology for different things. And so, oddly enough, there actually is a biological term for when massive corporations pay government officials to do the things that they want and to change legislation. We call it corruption. And a lot of people, for some reason, call that something else. They call it lobbying, the democracy, whatever. We just call it corruption. It's a way easier term, I feel. Yeah, but that's just me.
It's very interesting because I was recently reading an environmental economics book, like you do when you're me, and generally, economists really, really like the idea of putting a price on carbon, saying, okay, you can pollute, but you just have to pay for the damages you're causing by polluting. And then hopefully that will, incentivize companies to stop doing that. But this particular book said, hey, if we look at what actually happens when this happens, these companies don't spend their money on decarbonizing to avoid taxes. They spend their money on lobbying to avoid taxes instead. And PR campaigns and general fuckery, because we live in the real world, we don't live in the economics world. And so that I think I was telling you earlier about how I had a book I wanted to yell about. This is the one.
Yeah. It's crazy. And that's the thing is when we set fines as the only punishment for something, when we say, okay, yeah, you can, if you break this massive major environmental law, here's the penalty for it. All you're doing is saying, well, if you're rich enough, the law doesn't apply to you. Because it's the same thing as with this train derailment in New Palestine right now. Is I think it was the EPA put these massive fines, millions and millions of dollars, and you're going to help pay it, and it's not even a fraction of a percent of the increased profits because of the deregulation that caused this disaster. So they didn't even lose the bonus that they made for doing the thing. And so who gives a fuck? They're going to do it again. It's just,
yeah.
If you charge me $1 million to not do, oh, was it really?
Yeah, I did. It was really really was a skit of oh, well, we accounted for that. We're still profiting because originally they only paid a nominal fee. I think they're paying more in fines now, but originally they were paying less than $100,000 to this town or something like that. And it's it's just the cost of doing business. We factored this in. This potential fine is in our spreadsheets. We figured this would happen, and yet we're saving so much money by deregulating things and lobbying for deregulation and just shirking safety laws all the time. So just the cost of doing business.
It's deeply frustrating. Really quickly before we move on, because we've got a few calls on the line, and I want to jump into them. The Jimothy Snow would like me to remind everybody to please consider becoming a patron if you like content like this. We have weirdos like me interviewing smart people like Hazel about topics of interest and importance to the rest of us. Then you can go to patreon.com/calltheline. If we hit 500 patrons this month, then there will be a patron chess bracket tournament. I didn't hear about this. Once again, I'm announcing the thing as I'm being told about it. There will be a patron chess bracket tournament where everyone who enters gets to play their first round against Matt, and then the bracket will proceed, and there will be prizes, apparently. Tomorrow you can catch Dave Warnock on the Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty. That sounds awesome. I'm going to like both those people. You can see Nominal Naomi and Arden Hart Thursday on TACIS. I'm so happy that she got over. That's fantastic. I'm not in the loop on these. I am. I'm in the group chats. I just don't pay attention. So Jimmy and Matt are back on Sunday for the Sunday show. And make sure you subscribe to the other channel as well, the Line X, where we have new programs and some episodes of Cus I Wanna will be airing soon. Those are the things that Jimmy wanted me to tell you. So check those things out if you're interested in any of those things. Thanks, Jimmy.
Great announcer voice. That was awesome.
Oh, it's what I'm all about. Years of talking like this have made it impossible for me to say anything else.
When you tell people it's from me, they all just go like, all right, we don't have to listen now. It's from Jimmy, everyone. We'll be back when they talk about science again.
Right. We do have, I want to hear, like, as much as I would genuinely love to sit here and just bitch for like 2 hours, I want to get a few calls in. We've got, coming right up is Emily, pronouns are she, her, calling from New England. Emily says her family is planning for climate change by moving to the coast and learning survival skills. And Emily wants to know if they're super paranoid. Emily, you're on the line. How are you doing today?
Hello. Hi. So yeah, my family composes of a lot of younger people, 20s, 30s, and people are starting to look at think about having kids, and because of that, we're kind of planning for the future. And because I'm disabled, a lot of it falls on me because I have a lot more time to take notes and do research and things like that, and I'm just wondering if we're being a little too paranoid or not paranoid enough. And I do want to be clear, like, I know a lot of people who plan for the future or who become kind of survivally stop advocating and doing activists. And we're doing that too. Like, we're still doing that. But I just don't want to go too far into the prepper universe, where, all my money and all my time and all my energy is being devoted to this, when maybe it's not necessary, because it does take a bit of a toll on my health. But, this is also my family, and if sacrificing that would help them, doing research into herbal alternatives in case medication becomes harder to get to, homesteading skills in case food gets harder to come by, what parts of the country will be safer as far as natural disasters, or we'll have better access to drinking water because we'll have more drought, or diseases tend to be in there's a lot of diseases that tend to be in warmer climates, so and we already have certain diseases are already starting to kind of crawl up into southern the U.S., like where would be safe to move and different things like that. So I'm doing a lot of research into these topics and looking into epidemiology and all the different things. And I just don't want to turn into a crazy prepper, but I also want to take care of my family. And I'm not sure where the line is.
I think the fact that you're asking this exact question is a good vote of confidence that you wouldn't fall down the crazy prepper hole, because crazy preppers are the type of people who don't ask that question and say, no, I'm just going to go balls to the wall with it. But I would love to hear your thoughts.
Extremely good point.
Hazel, what do you think?
Yeah. I think that, I don't know where the line is. I'm the one who, when everybody was like buying toilet paper for COVID, or like in February of 2020, people were like, oh, this might be serious. I was like, you guys are crazy. So I will never say that ever again. But so I would never call anybody paranoid. However, I might say that growing food, like food type stuff, I think that is a great skill to have. I don't think the world's ending anytime soon, but we are already seeing in the UK and in some other places rationing of certain types of produce because of shortages, because of droughts, like lettuce, peppers, eggs. Well, eggs is because of other stuff, but you know what I mean. And so it's never a bad idea to have your own supply of food. And then I think one other thing I would want to say about prepping is that I know everybody and their dog has read Braiding Sweetgrass, so I don't want to be all like, oh, I read Braiding Sweetgrass, and here's what but like,
it's a stupid good book though. It's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. So, but like, yeah, one thing that she points out is that humans have always survived better, in a community, and so I think like a good part of survival skills that is often neglected, especially by these ultra wealthy with their bunkers, is the idea of having like a community, and your community keeps you safe and you keep your community safe. You can't learn every single skill, but you can like make yourself a really tightly knit community if at all possible. I don't know where you live, but I guess just general advice. A community is great. You can trade stuff with them. You can go off their skills, learn things from each other. And I think that that's generally a very underrated part of, I don't know, I don't want to call it prepping, disaster preparedness, generally being a human, whatever.
Yeah, my family's kind of weird.
I would build on that and just say, there's a, I'm sorry, I was just going to say there's a lot to be said for just like meeting your neighbors, sitting on your stoop, sharing whatever you have. If you do, if you have chickens and you produce eggs, give them away. If you have, if you learn how to grow crops, encourage your neighbors to also grow crops, and then get a little system going on. I made too much fucking corn. You made too much fucking peppers. We can work this out. Like, it is so unbelievably handy to do that. And like, it's crazy not only how much that helps from an environmental standpoint, but also from a preparedness standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say enough for a community.
That's interesting, because we were kind of debating like how rural to go. And so that kind of means that not to go like full, because I have a pretty big family, so there would be a lot of us, but you do need other people, because it can't be just your family. Otherwise things get.
You do nothing else is the whole thing. If you were trying to take care of yourself completely, you would do nothing else. Like, humans evolved with community. It's a huge part of what we are. So like, yeah, if you can pull people into it, that's one of the reasons agriculture was developed. Because it actually fucking sucks in terms of like nutritional benefits and like health and happiness and all these things. But it's really good at sustaining a large community. That's the only thing that you can do with it. And so like, if you can build those relationships with people, and like, I think Hazel made an excellent point as well about like the protection that you get from other people, like social and also physical protection you get from other people. That's huge. There can't be enough said about that.
Yeah, it's kind of we're sorry, I don't talk very well. We were trying to figure out, because if you study like a lot of the histories, like the Mayan civilization, and even just looking at the Middle East now, climate change can lead to a lot of social unrest, and we already have so much social unrest in this country that it's so hard to predict what's going to happen, because it's not just the climate, it's what's going to happen to our culture because of the climate. And that's where I think it's a little bit tricky to go too prepper overboard. I have a cousin who's very paranoid about how things are going to go, and with reason. She's trans, and she went through a lot with her family with transition and with the culture and with society, and so she's fearful with how society's going, and understandably so. And she wants me to do research into how to make my own bulletproof vests and things like that.
Oh wow!
And in case things get Civil War-y, and how to do research into all of that kind of stuff, and she's afraid of a civil war, and it's understandable.
I can see why she would be.
It's pretty tricky, because I certainly don't want to spread any kind of like panic about like what may be to come. I also don't want to ignore the fact that there are some alarmingly genocide-y noises coming out of the right right now in this country, especially when we have people going to CPAC and saying out loud we need to eradicate transgenderism at all levels, and people cheer for that shit. It's fucking wild, yo. So yeah, no, I totally get that that level of worry, and I don't discount that or discredit that at all.
I know, and I don't either. It's just I'm not sure that.
Oh no, clearly you don't. You're taking it as seriously as you need to, and I get that. Yeah.
And I've looked into it actually, and actually I know how to. You just need milk jugs and some. There's one other material that you need, and you can make it that can stop everything. All pistols, not rifles. They can stop.
I don't know enough about that to endorse any of that. So I don't know, but like, it's the whole thing that I would say is like. Right. The whole thing I would just is that when Hazel brought up COVID at the beginning of this briefly, and one thing that I could never and will never and refuse to ever forget about that is that our government knew about COVID for a few weeks before we did, and this is not a conspiracy theory. This is something you can very easily look up. We saw like a lot of senators, a lot of politicians sold stocks because they knew that the country was about to go into lockdown. And they did that before they let people know so that they could sell at a higher value. Thousands of people died as a result of that wait time. And that's just how it is here. Is that, people in my state, I'm pretty sure like several Oklahoman senators were among the people on the press releases saying, yeah, hey, notice these guys' portfolio drained the day before they told everybody, hey, we might actually have lockdowns coming up pretty soon. So the fact that human lives and like precious, super important time that medical professionals needed to prepare was less important than somebody's portfolio, that's something I will never get out of my head. And so I always remember, and I always remind people, don't trust this government. Don't like rely on them for anything. If they come through and do something good when catastrophic climate change is an issue, radical. Do not expect it.
Yeah,
because you will be disappointed.
I think I've definitely had similar moments with climate where like I live in Canada, and Canada announced a climate emergency and then proceeded to do absolutely fuck all. Like literally the next day they bought a pipeline. So like the way that I kind of describe this understanding is like nobody is coming to save us, so we need to save us, which doesn't mean I'm gonna, hide in a bunker by myself, but more like I'm gonna try and help as many people as possible and also help myself. Like we need to save each other, I guess, is how I might put that. So yeah, nobody's coming to save us. The government certainly isn't. But unless we demand it, then they might.
Yeah.
And that's
so
kind of
it's all about mutual aid, man. It's all about taking care of yourself and taking care of your neighbors, and hoping your neighbors help take care of you too. Building that framework, that safety net for yourselves, and expecting failure from your elected officials, because that's all they've ever shown us. So if you expect anything else, I don't know why.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Yeah, that's the failure of the elected officials and the COVID lesson of A, the elected officials won't help us, and B, a lot of other citizens are going to do the wrong thing, is why kind of like we talk to people and we encourage them to prepare, and we tell them like what we're thinking of about like, okay, so, these are some places we're thinking of. Oh, hey, have you thought about getting some chickens or, things like that. But the community.
Hey, chickens are great.
Chickens are amazing, and they actually make really great pets. If you get them used to people when they're young, they'll like sit on your shoulder while you walk around, and they're actually can be pretty fun. Like they're not just over there chickens. Like they can be pets. But that's another thing.
They are very chill.
Anyway,
yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, no worries. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Sounds like you're doing all the right things.
By the way, for people who are curious, I just searched. This is one of the first things that came up. Here's a link to an article from The Hill about senators selling stocks right before the market crashed due to COVID, including it was Jim Inhofe was the one here from Oklahoma that sold a bunch of things before he told him, and that's exactly what we expect from Jim Inhofe. So yeah, enjoy
go,
that
Jim.
read. It's a fun little thing you can check. Yeah, he's a delight.
That's funny because I
is-
knew about that
it's-
during COVID, and then it like left my mind, and now I'm back to thinking about it. Ugh.
Yeah.
Good to not
That's
forget
one of the
that.
things that one of the things that bothers me about like conspiracy theorists and whatnot is that you have these people out here trying to, pin everything on the government, from the weather to they're controlling the rotation of the earth, and there's aliens and this and that. And I'm like, dude, of all the
truth is
horrific
worse.
and terrible things that are real, exactly. Yeah, there's so much. Like, y'all know MK Ultra happened, right? Be mad about that. Be scared. Don't be mad about this other weird thing, this nebulous lizard people, whatever. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, and to the person in the chat,
ever...
yes, Jim Inhofe was the snowball guy. Yes, Jim Inhofe is the
Snowball
one
guy?
who brought a snowball. Yeah, he's the senator from Oklahoma where I live. He brought a snowball into Congress and said, "Here's proof that climate change isn't real." Yeah, that fucking guy.
That's great. Oh, that's incredible.
I met him once.
Wowie.
I was I was like 18, and I went to this little town that I was living in, had a little chamber of commerce meeting, tiny little backwater town of little people, like a couple thousand, and they had a little chamber of commerce meeting, and Jim Inhofe went there as a guest speaker to talk about building infrastructure in the whatever. This is when I was a kid. It's like almost 10 years ago. His speech was Obama's 4-step plan for destroying America. And that was what he presented to like this tiny, sleepy little town of people. Like, how do I open a new pizza restaurant? That was Jim Inhofe, ladies and gentlemen. Great guy.
Yeah. Oof. Wowie. That snowball. I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude. It's wild. We've got a few other calls on the line, so we'll jump through as many as we can. This one's a little bit very different, so I'm gonna go through these guys as quickly as I can, because I'm not gonna bullshit through these, but they are biology questions, so I'm just gonna get through. I want to make sure to answer these questions as much as we can. We've got Lisa, pronoun she, her, from Colorado. Wants information on endogenous retroviruses. Lisa, how are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. I'm so glad you're on the show tonight. In fact, Matt Dillahunty told me a few days ago when I was on, I think it was on a Sunday evening program with him. He told me tonight would be a good night to call so I could get a hold of you. And briefly, just briefly, I am pretty much done with all of my deconstructing, but there are some subjects that I've been hearing about recently, particularly endogenous viruses, but I'm having a hard time finding what might be a really good source for me to go to really start getting into this subject. So if you have any suggestions, I am all ears. Yeah,
so I'm pulling up some resources right now, just a couple of cool papers. Basically, like I'm trying to get a couple of things that are common, just popular science writing, just anybody can read, and then a couple of things that are a little bit more esoteric as well, so that way you have something to play with and you can kind of go down a source rabbit hole. That's what I like to do anyway. Just for everybody who's curious about this topic, what we mean by this, so there's we have a classification system of viruses called the Baltimore scheme, and the class 6 virus is what we call a retrovirus, and what they do is they use an enzyme called reverse transcriptase to literally implant their DNA into yours. So a great example of a retrovirus, of a class 6 virus, is HIV. This is why HIV is so incredibly difficult to cure, because when you're infected by it, it literally alters your DNA. It puts its DNA into your DNA, so that way, even if you were to eradicate every single viral cell from your body, you now have this endogenous, this internal virus that is being produced by your body. And this is why a lot of times when we talk about HIV therapies, we're talking about not being undetectable. You're undetectable for this, which means, of course, you still have it. You will never get rid of it until you can change your DNA, which is a big advancement with CRISPR, which actually shows some promise. But you're not actually producing it at a level that can be detected in any way. Therefore, you're at extremely low to no risk of passing it on sexually. And so this is, you know, really fascinating, cool thing that we can learn a lot about, and it's fucking terrifying. However, there are also some really cool things about it that are beneficial, because there's an evolutionary history that ties in here as well. Over the course of our evolutionary history, our ancestors have become infected with retroviruses that didn't kill them, but altered their DNA in such a way that actually produced other effects. A great example of that is the fact that you know, humans have uteruses sometimes. And so the possession of a uterus is the result of, and the whole life, no, sorry, not a uterus, a placenta is what I should be talking about, really. The possession of a placenta and the use of it for live birth is a retrovirus thing. And I'm going to link a source to this here that I just found while I was talking about here in Trophoplast differentiation. And here's endogenous retroviruses and placental evolution, development, and diversity from Cells magazine. And I'll put that in the chat right now. This, you know, talks a little bit about this, is that, you know, mammals evolved 220 million years ago, and we were all monotremes. We all laid eggs until about 120 million years ago, when we differentiated into the monotremes, the placentals, and the marsupials. Placental evolution was largely the result of a retrovirus that changed the way that our uteruses work and caused this inner folding, which we now use as a placenta, to develop in a weird way. It was a mistake caused by a viral illness that became the way that, like, most mammals have babies now. Here's another one about trophoblast differentiation. I put that in the chat just then as well. And here's another one about demystified human endogenous retroviruses, because this is a one that I just put in here, because a lot of the time we talk about this, they get confused with, like, the illnesses and diseases that I brought up at the very beginning. And finally, for people who want to learn a little bit more in a common way, this is stated clearly. This guy's awesome. He makes really great videos, and this is just a simple video. It's about 12 minutes long, exploring endogenous retroviruses as a genetic scar left by certain types of viral infections and how we can use them to build evolutionary trees. So those are a couple of resources, 3 scientific papers and 1 like just chill thing that anybody can watch and learn a little bit about. Any one of those should send you down a rabbit hole of education. And if you really want, you can also go to scholar.google.com and type in whatever you want. Scholar.google.com, or just it's called Google Scholar, is basically just Google for scientific papers. And what you do is you type in whatever you want. It pulls up all sorts of papers based on that. You find the one that you like, click on it, and a lot of the times it'll be behind a paywall, because scientific journals are fucking assholes. And so what you do is it'll have the name of the thing. Under that, it'll have a bunch of little things like cite this paper, blah, blah, blah. On the far right, it'll say view all X amount of versions of this paper. Click on that bitch, and very often there will be a PDF in there. You get it for free. Cheat code. So do that, and you'll learn all sorts of cool things if you want.
Wait.
Okay.
Oh.
Cool.
Do you not do that with Google
I've
Scholar?
been blocked out of papers. So no. That's good to know.
Yeah,
I've had a couple things like, oh, well, too bad.
Yep. No, that has helped me so many fucking times. There's also, you can always write to the author and be like, hey, I'd like a free copy of your paper because I'm a researcher doing blah, blah, blah. And generally speaking, they get back to you within a week. But if you're like me and you don't want to do that shit, you look for PDFs.
Yeah, I think economists are less friendly than scientists in general. Not always.
Anyway, Lisa, does that answer, are those resources good enough to start with?
Yeah, I think that may be a good starting point, so thank you for that, because the first time I even heard about this topic was recently when I went onto YouTube and a certain atheist experience episode just happened to pop up, and it was Shannon Q who referred to this, and I didn't catch all of the verbiage of it, but she was referring to the fact that when endogenous viruses within humans were somehow compared to those in the chimpanzee, and of course I'm explaining this very simplistically because I'm not knowledgeable on it, but it was just that comparison that was so amazingly close that I mean, it just blew her away. So that's what prompted me to want to find out. I want to get a good source on this so I can sink my teeth into it because it is fascinating.
Yeah. Start with the stated clearly. John Perry is the guy who does that. He's a biologist who makes amazing videos on all sorts of good topics. And as the channel's name states, it is stated clearly. It's totally digestible for anybody. I would start there. And then, when you're digging into those papers, if you decide to look through those as well, you're going to come across a lot of language that sounds really fucking weird because biologists like to write great papers for the edification of all of the other great experts to show how amazingly intelligent they are and all this shit. Don't worry about like if something catches you up, just keep reading for a minute. It'll usually explain itself because they like to explain a lot. And if you get a big sequence of weird random letters and hyphens and shit, if they're talking about a particular gene, that's just do it as if you're reading a fantasy novel and it gives somebody a weird ass name. Just make something up and keep going with it. Don't try to get a lot of people get caught up and they're like, oh, this gene called gal X hyphen WNTW percent sign the fucking diddle, whatever. And like they get caught up trying to decipher what the hell this gene name is that they miss the rest of it. So don't fall into that trap. Just treat it like a fantasy nickname and move on.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you for that info, and I hope Shannon Q hears me when I say I'm so glad she mentioned this topic. I'm so glad she did.
Yeah.
So
I'll let her know.
All right.
I'm sure it would mean a lot to her to know that she was able to be of help. And congratulations on your deconstruction, by the way.
Thank you. It's been quite a process, but it's been worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm happy to hear you're free. Anyway, take care, Lisa. Thanks so much for calling in.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we've got one other bio call. I'm going to give them a minute. I'm going to come back to that one because we got other people that I want to jump off to, and I want to get your opinion on some things.
Yeah, I got to catch up on chat, so...
We've got so this actually is pertinent to the first call that we did. You and I are talking quite a bit about community, and here we have somebody who wants some help finding community within the atheist community as a whole. We've got T, pronouns he him, from North Carolina. T, how are you doing today? You're on the line.
Hey there, I'm doing all right. I was just wondering, I don't want to take too much of your time, just some good resources for finding some stuff.
For finding community in general, or like anything in particular?
I mean local stuff, because everything that I find for the most part is like pages that haven't been updated in 2 years. It looks like the pandemic really knocked pretty much the wind out of the sails of everything around me, with maybe one or two exceptions. Or at least that's what I've been able to find personally.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. A lot of web pages that are like, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And it's like, okay, are you ever coming back?
It is hard. Oh, do you have any resources, Hazel? Anything that you use to find peeps?
Yeah. Are we talking specifically for the atheist community? Or because that one is honestly like...
Well, yeah.
What's that?
Skeptic, just reaching out to people who aren't like in churches,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Like, I have been, atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call it, my whole life, and so I feel like having the, church community that you see everybody every Sunday and like, do potlucks and stuff would be nice. But without the Jesus stuff. So I am still in search of that myself. I don't really have anything to point you to except for like, there's other things. I mean, mostly the circles that I run in are like activist type communities, and comedy type communities. So, but I think it depends on like what your other interests are, because for atheism, skeptic type stuff, I truly can't help you, because I am also looking for something like that. That would be very nice.
Yeah, I started out just by typing in whatever city I was in, atheist community of that, and I found a couple, and not all of them were always very super active, and people in there's always going to be people in politics and this, that, the other. So no, I am a sad, lonely schlub who rarely goes out of the house to meet peoples, and that's kind of on purpose, but also it just because I'm, so I don't know, man. I would start there. I would just look up, atheist conventions, communities, clubs, whatever like that in your city. If you wanted to start there, go to, there's here in the chat. You can probably start finding discords and whatnot that are a place you can go to. I know, the atheist community of Austin is really famous for this, and they have all sorts of little private discords and whatnot that they invite people into. I don't know if the Line Network has such a thing at this moment. I'm pretty sure we have a Patreon, but I don't think you want to pay to be in a community, so I don't know about that. It's tough, yo. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Jimmy, if you're listening, do you know of any community establishment places that people could turn to?
I've been doing chores. We have a meetup if you're in Austin that we're going to start using more, but usually it's going to meetup.com and typing in atheist and you find that stuff. If you're looking for like an online community, yeah, we've got our patron Discord that's going to get more attention, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because you got a million miserable loners trying to figure out how to get together and do something.
Yeah, maybe you need to start something in your community.
Exactly. You could be the catalyst.
Board game night for the godless or something.
That'd be tight. I would go to that.
And for sometime, I would like to call in and talk to you about something regarding morality.
I mean, you've got me here. If you can make it not super short, but like if you think it's something we can condense down into like 5 or 10 minutes.
Probably not. It was just an interesting question I saw someone else posed about what the difference between things that just make us feel gross and the things that are like reasonably immoral.
Is the difference between your insular cortex and your ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Yeah, that's where I would start, man.
I was about to start going into like.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to start going into utilitarianism, but all right.
Well, you've got your insula over here. You take your temporal lobe and your parietal lobe and you peel them apart, and you have this little invagination of cerebrum in here called your insula. And one of the things that it's responsible for is making you feel sick to your stomach when you eat or even think about eating rotten, nasty things. If you think about eating some disgusting fetid meat, all measly and gross, this part of your brain lights up and makes you feel ill. It also lights up the exact same way when you're exposed to rotten, nasty behavior. Think about rape, murder, incest, genocide, whatever. The same part of your brain activates, and that's why pretty much every language in the world has a phrase like, that makes me sick to my stomach. Oh, that behavior leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It makes me ill that they would do these things. It's because the same part of your brain handles visceral disgust and moral disgust. Whereas your prefrontal cortex, especially if I remember pretty sure it's your ventromedial prefrontal cortex in here, that part of your brain is more handling like the logical applications of morality and thinking about what the morality means and what you do with it. And I want to just put a massive caveat here that the idea of like this one part of your brain does this one thing and nothing else does is way oversimplified. And also I'm leaving out a tremendous amount of details that even I know. And also I'm not a neuroscientist. So like there's a fuckload more there. But like those are the things that like I would start with that discussion and start thinking about because that's the research and the literature that I've read. Great resource on that would be I'm pretty sure Sam Harris talked about this in The Moral Landscape. Sam Harris is a neuroscientist, and this is a whole book on morality. This is how science can determine human values. He makes an argument here for an objective morality based around like human well-being. And he also makes an argument for like a three-dimensional model, like plane of morality, where you have different peaks and valleys of any one moral question, and there could be different peaks that are of the same height and different valleys of the same depth, so there could be more than one right answer to a moral question. But admitting that there are such things as right and wrong answers in the first place takes it out of the subjective, culturally dependent realm that we usually play with it in and makes it a lot more interesting, in my opinion. And I'm 99% sure he talks about the implications of different parts of the brain in terms of things like belief and moral behavior. You can also look up people like Franz de Waal. So this is a book called Chimpanzee Politics. This is a really old one, but like Franz de Waal did a bunch of other research on like primate behaviors, especially things about like morality in primates. You can also look up people like Sapolsky. There's a book called Monkey Love by Robert Sapolsky. He's a neuroendocrinologist and ethologist and blah, blah, blah. And I shout him out like on every fucking video that I'm on. This book in particular is just kind of like some essays on how weird human behaviors are in general. But you can dig into a lot of his stuff where he talks about the origins of ethical behaviors in different species. Those are things that I would start with in terms of this discussion. And if you want to, you're free to call back and let me ramble about it some more. And it won't be any more elucidating, I promise you.
My question is, Sam Harris, is he one of those? Is he wait, what is it? Pragmatic altruist? Effective altruist? Is he one of them?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Because there's a field of like, I don't know what they are, but they're a group that basically like says that the most effective way to be ethical is to just like maximize your potential impact on society. And for that, you basically need to get rich and then donate as much of your money as you can. That's not actually the full belief, but like so I was like, I think he might be in that camp, but I can't remember. So maybe chat will tell us. I've been keeping an eye on it now.
Who knows?
Anyway.
But yeah, I would start in those things. And there's if you had given if I had a few minutes, I would dig up a few more things about like different sources on like neuroscience and morality. I can't come up with any off the top of my head, but I wrote a whole during my undergrad, I did a whole like independent study on it. So I've got them laying around here somewhere. I can't come up with them right now.
Well, thanks so much.
I gotta stop using Kindles so I can grab books. Sorry, go ahead.
That's so much fun to do.
God, someone say something. Jesus Christ.
Is that a good place? Is that a good place to stop it here, T? Or or do you want to call back and talk about it some more someday?
Yeah, I'll definitely want to talk some more sometime if I ever get around to it. But I mostly appreciate all the resources you gave me to read because, I'm always learning. Love doing that.
For sure. Right on, man. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you take care.
Good luck finding a community.
I hope so.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. Love that.
Board games for the godless. So that's my pitch.
Dude, I would be so into that. It's not even fucking funny. It's great.
Dillahunty would be on board.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know he would be for sure. Like that's the thing. Amber and I are all about my wife, Amber. I don't know if I've ever talked to her about it with you, but like we are so into board games and we love them so much. And when we went down and visited Austin
that surprises
a little while
me
ago,
0%.
Yeah, and like we hung out with Jimmy and Matt and Art and all that, and we just freaking played Blockus for hours and hours. Now it's so good. God, it was so good. Coming up next, we have somebody who will be a little more in your wheelhouse, and I'm excited to hear what you say about this. This is Steven, pronouns he, him, calling in from Arizona. Wants to know about population migrations as an effect of climate change. Steven, you're on the line. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
Never better.
Great. So it's fun to sit on hold because like I have answers for everyone, even though I'm not a host. I have answers for everyone that I'm listening to. But what I wanted to ask about, as far as with climate change, we're worried about sea level rise and how it's going to wipe out certain populations, where their land is literally going to disappear, not just on coastlines, but places like the Maldives. And I know in the United States, I remember seeing a story maybe a year ago about what they were calling climate refugees who were relocating to, I think it was Duluth, Minnesota, because someone calculated that was probably one of the better places in the United States to go. Duluth is not high on my list. Sorry, Duluth. But I wonder just in general, economically as well, because I to your point earlier about it being a luxury, that we can even consider how we cope with it in our two countries with our available land and availability to move around. somewhat more cheaply, but then you have other parts of the world. I'm thinking of like Bangladesh and just coastal populations everywhere that don't have that ability. Are we looking at, without getting all doomsday about it, from an economic perspective as well as a climate change perspective, are we expecting large migrations of population either into North America or anywhere in particular that we should be keeping an eye on, or what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, the climate refugee crisis is ongoing and it will get worse. And that is basically something that we've been told is a fact. Basically, it's just up to us to make sure it doesn't get catastrophic. Climate proof Duluth, they're calling it, by the way. Climate proof Duluth. That's funny because you said that and I was like, Duluth. And then immediately it was Duluth. But yeah, okay, let's do economically. One thing that hopefully will help, we'll see, is that COP27 did the main thing that we did in COP27, I wasn't there, was to have loss and damages as a kind of just concept of the rich countries transfer money to the poorer countries that are more likely to be affected by climate change, floods, drought, what have you. And then they would put that money towards climate proofing themselves a little bit more. We have no idea how much money that's going to be. It's probably going to be like an ongoing fight to be like, no, we pay up for all of this loss and damages that we've caused to make to enrich ourselves, basically. So that's an ongoing fight in the climate and environmental economics zone, how much money it should be, and how do we get people to pay up, in a somewhat equitable way where it's not just like a few countries offering up a ton of money and then the US being like, I changed my mind, actually, no money for you. So hopefully that will help with the refugee crisis, but we'll see. Sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, and I appreciate that answer, thank you, but is that, I guess I'm looking at it as, is that really effective? Only because nature always wins. So
True.
To me, it feels like there's only so much you can do to weatherproof Bangladesh. You could put a big tent over it or something, but it's only ever going to be a temporary fix because of the way things are. Should we not be prepared to move people more so than try to band-aid some of these things from an economic perspective?
Yeah, well, you would be surprised at how much disaster preparedness does work. There are plenty of examples of towns that get hit by the same hurricanes or whatever, but one of them had prepared for it 5 years ahead and the other one hadn't. And this one is still standing and is fine. And people had to relocate for a few days and now they can go back. This one, not so much. And so it is really an effective use of funds to transfer them to more affected countries in the global south. It really, really can make a difference. I wouldn't call it a Band-Aid solution, but there are going to be some places that are just straight up underwater. So what do you do there? And I had something for this, but it has left my brain. What was I going to say for moving people around? Sorry, do you want you talk, Forrest, and I'll try and remember what the heck I was going to say.
I would just say, building off of what you just said, just for a second, is that you're talking about preparedness and how it actually, is better than a lot of people think. I remember the first thing that my brain always jumps to is it was in 2010, I believe it was, that earthquake in Haiti. And one of the reasons why that was so unbelievably, catastrophically disastrous wasn't just the earthquake itself, which was horrifying, but also just the haphazard, shitty response of the rest of the world, where the biggest problem was coordination and logistics. The fact that we had everything we need to help people right then and to fix this problem immediately. This was a sudden, unpredictable disaster, and we could have cleaned it up and fixed it, within, a week. But it took months and months and months to get people to figure out who's going where and who calls who and who's bringing snacks and all the, you know what I mean? And so like that was, almost a bigger issue than the earthquake itself. So having systems in place for a disaster that we can actually prepare for and know exactly what the kind of impact is going to be. We know what these weather patterns are going to look like. We know that 50% of the human population is around a coastline. We know where they're going to have to move to make it effective and sustainable. We have the infrastructure we have the infrastructure to make that move sustainable and not deadly for a lot of people. It's all a matter of giving a fuck and actually doing those things preemptively instead of waiting for it to be an emergency and then acting like we didn't know what was happening, like we always do. So like, if people decide to take it seriously while it's still an option to take it seriously, then we would be a lot better off.
I remember what I was going to say. Insurance. Insurance is really important for this because a lot of the times insurance companies, if your house burns down in a fire, they make you rebuild it on the same fucking spot. So a lot of insurance companies are like going out of business. Like they're just going bankrupt in Florida because like it's Florida. And so like changing the way that these insurance companies are regulated a little bit, possibly partially nationalizing them in some way that I won't describe right now, is like insurance companies are a huge part of the solution, but goddamn does that sound boring. So, but it's more interesting than you'd think. That is the thing that I wanted to talk about that I forgot.
I remember there was actually some people were talking about here in America. We have a horrific and unexcusable problem of police officers shooting unarmed black people. And there was an idea that insurance companies have. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Insurance companies have the best lawyers possible to make sure they don't have to pay out a dime. So if every single black person in America just got crazy good life insurance for wrongful death, they would sue police departments out of existence until we actually started caring about them and taking their lives seriously. What an amazing idea, right? Like they would use the lawyers in the system. That's what it's all about. Because it's so much better.
That's interesting.
Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
These police departments have great insurance. I mean, they have a little pot that says, in case you beat somebody up that you weren't supposed to beat up, and you just go, oh, sorry, here's some money. And then that's, of course, paid for by the taxpayers. But we digress. That has nothing to do with climate refugees.
So this is a great way to protect us from qualified immunity and climate change, y'all. Insurance.
Wow, we did it. We solved everything with insurance.
We solved it all.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into HOSTility. That's our show. Stephen, does that answer your question or at least come close to it?
It does. Thank you very much. And I did have a quick comment for you, Forrest. We first spoke about concealed ovulation, if you remember that conversation. And it got me very interested in bonobos because it came up in our discussion. And there was a primatologist that I was listening to who said that bonobos and chimpanzees are how he sort of describes humanity because they're both cousins, and like chimpanzees are super aggressive and bonobos are like super not. And I thought that was really interesting, and I just thought I'd mention it to you, and we can talk about that another time. But thank you very much for taking my call. I do appreciate it.
It's crazy cool because like chimpanzees and bonobos only split from each other around 2 million years ago, whereas we split from both of them around 7 to 9 million years ago. So they're way more closely related than we are to either of them. And it is shocking how diametrically opposed their behaviors are. It's fucking wild. Much prefer bonobos. I don't want to be well-behaved or heterosexual. And so bonobos are exactly what I'm all about. You know what I mean?
I'm right there with you.
Anyway, thank you so much for calling in, Stephen. You're awesome.
Yeah. That was a great question. That is something that doesn't get talked a lot. Really should be. Cheers.
Yeah, we covered everything. Refugees and police shootings and fucking bonobos. We've got 2 more calls left, and then we've got to move on to super chats because we already had 1 million of them come in, and I don't want to keep you here all night. So are you cool just jumping into the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
You can check that last Twitter note I sent you. Which text thing are you monitoring? Where should I be sending you notes today?
I pulled up the in-screen chat as well. I'm working on it, so let me refresh this.
I just told you to make sure you thank David for screening calls today.
Hey, thank David for screening calls today.
Thanks, David.
I appreciate that.
Thank David for screening. You guys put a little heart into it.
Thank David for screening calls.
Thank David,
you're
for
the
screening
best.
call today. Sound like you got a gun to your head.
David is the goodest of the call screeners until he isn't doing it, and then it's the other person instead. David,
now you made it a competition amongst
sure
the other
are.
screeners. What the fuck? Forrest.
David is here.
Jesus.
It's not gonna not be awkward now. I don't know what you want from me.
That's all good. Hey, David, thank you so much for screening today. All right, I'll mute
David,
again.
you're the best. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, David. And also thank you to all our mods in chat. We appreciate you being here as well. And thanks to Jimmy Snow for putting this whole show together. And thanks to Hazel Thayer for being a guest. And thanks to Nobility for making me this delicious chai beverage. And thanks to Jesus for making the whole world.
Please, I was so hoping that would end with, and thanks for the memories, even though they weren't so great.
Nice.
That's a Fall Out Boy song.
I'd like to thank the Academy. I'd like to thank my mom. I'd like to thank...
I thought you were going to say I'd like to thank the economy. That too.
Yeah,
Rick,
I almost said it, but like I meant to say Academy, but like I guess I'm economy brained. I need to take a day off.
Thanks,
do you have like a
Daddy
cool mom?
Bezos for sending me all of these things with free shipping.
I think I sent you those things. Hazel,
Are you
through
asking me?
Amazon.
Did you ask me if I have a cool mom?
do you have like a cool mom? You said you
I
thanked
do.
your mom. Cool.
I mean, that's what people do when they win awards, but I do have a cool mom.
I think you might be the first host on the line with good parents. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I've got big cool parent privilege. Like just truly, both of them were like rock musicians until they had me. Like it should be illegal to have two parents that are cool when there are so many people with zero parents that are cool. But anyway, whatever.
I kind of hate you now. Forrest, did you thank the mods?
Sorry.
I did thank the mods.
Good.
Thank you to
That's
the
good.
mods.
I did it
Thanks.
all on my own.
Tight. I don't really hate you. I'm bitter and jealous. All right. Well, I'm
She
gonna
can be
take a
your
nap.
mom too. I'll ask her.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay.
Deal.
If
All right,
she's
great.
taking applications for kids, man, we'll
Yeah.
all sign up.
I'm an
Let
only
me-
child. There's a lot of room.
You got time? My therapist could tell you all the ways in which not having a mom has fucked me up. We got
Oh,
we
well,
got
we
7
solved that.
hours.
We solved that too. So
Perfect.
we're good. We're
That's
just
so
solving
good.
all the world's problems
We're
today.
solving problems left and right. This is the most productive show we've ever done.
Yeah.
We've got this will be an interesting one. We've got Mo, pronouns he, him from Minnesota, wants to know about how are biological functions able to form if intelligent designers don't exist. Mo, you're on the line. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm all right, man.
Can
Do
you hear
you
me?
have anything in particular that you want to know about, or just like the general gist of like biological complexity?
Yeah, hopefully I can. It's something specific, I guess. Hopefully I can
Okay.
articulate it. I'm pretty nervous.
No,
So
don't be.
I'm an atheist.
We're weird as
I'm an
shit.
atheist.
This is a weird
Yeah.
show. Here you are.
Thank you. So I'm an atheist, and I don't believe in God. But sometimes, like a nagging thought, just comes surfacing in when I see like really complex biological things. Like I watched a video of yours, and you were talking about the functions of fingernails. And I thought that was really miraculous. I have like a specific example. So say oceans rose up, and there was barely any land left, and humanity had to fish for most of their lives. And for like millions of years, like if we lived that long, we would develop gills, fins, like all these different things that resemble fish that would help us get our food better. How does that happen without like an intelligent designer guiding that, knowing what's happening, seeing it, and knowing that these specific traits will help? I don't know how that happens without like through just random mutations for millions of years, like specific traits
So
happening.
one nitpick, super unlikely that we get gills, but the rest of it maybe. And I can say that with some confidence because, like, for example, what you just described is pretty much exactly what happened with cetaceans. Whales and dolphins and porpoises and the like, they are evolved from terrestrial land animals. And so you have artiodactyls, which is the clade that includes things like deer and whatnot, the even-toed ungulates. So deers and sheeps and cows and things like that are all artiodactyls. And so are whales, turns out. Whales are more closely related to deer than they are to fish. How the fuck is that possible, right? Well, here's how the long and short of it goes, is that you look back around 60, 50, 55? I want to say 55, and I think I mean 65. It's in there a few dozen million years ago. A number that I can't remember off the top of my head at this moment, apparently. And you have this dude named Endogenous, which is this funky little, like, dog deer thing with a long nose. And this little guy is just Scooby-Dooing about the coastlines, catching fish and whatnot, and got really good at it. And you have this directional selection now where you are leaning into the traits that evolve for better swimming and better fish catching. This would have happened in freshwater environments mainly, because, you know, this is a land animal and these drink fresh water. And then you go a little bit further into the fossil record and you have things like Pakicetus, which is much more long and elongated snout and little cone-shaped teeth for way better for fishing. You go a little bit further, you get Ambulocetus, which has these dumpy, terrible little legs. Might have been able to get up on land for a little bit, maybe for baby having, probably not much more than that, though. You go a little bit further, you get Durodon, who definitely wasn't getting up on land with his terrible, stupid little hind legs. And as you continue on this path, you also see bigger and more muscular tails and longer faces. You watch the nostrils slide back on the skull to develop into blowholes that we see today. Even dolphins today that only have one single blowhole still have two nasal passages in their head that are analogous to the nasal passages in your nose here, because they're the same fucking thing. They just moved. And so you see this transition into more streamlined and big fin flipping body proportions, and you see a tremendous amount of homologous structures, like the fact that they still have, even though they have these big front flippers, they still have wrist and hand and finger bones inside those flippers. We look at the way that they swim. Sharks, for example, swim side to side like this, like a fish would, whereas whales and dolphins swim up and down, which, if you notice, is how a mammal runs. You watch a tiger running on the plains going this way and not swimming side to side through the grass, right? So this is the same kind of body behavior that we would see from a land animal. And there's a tremendous amount more evidence for that. Like, you can look at, like, the astragalus bone, for example, which is a little double pulley ankle situation that you only see in artiodactyls, that we also see in early whales. You see the hip and leg bones that are now exapted into different things in modern cetaceans. But yeah, you don't need gills. You just, the rest of those things make sense in terms of just basic neo-Darwinian evolution. And you can even see that in humans. Take a look at the Baju people, B-A-J-U, I believe, the Baju people. These are an island-dwelling population that subsist mainly by diving down into the ocean and taking, like, a lot of shellfish and whatnot off the bottom of the ocean and catching fish down there. The Baju people have enormous spleens, and that's because one of the things your spleens do is they act as a storage of extra oxygenated blood for an emergency situation. And so the Baju people, with their freakishly large spleens, are able to dive down and stay underwater and sustain these, like, deep pressures for way longer than you or I would be able to. And that is the result of evolution. That is because the people with slightly bigger spleens were able to hunt better and get more food and survive longer. Basic savanna evolution, but in the ocean. So yeah, these kind of complex changes really aren't that wild. It really just is slow change over time. And especially when you talk about limb changes and limb proportions, a lot of that can come down into Hox genes, H-O-X genes, which have to do with, like, how your body's laid out and how limbs are structured in the first place. So, like, that's a whole other level of contrivancy that I don't think you or I want to go into at this moment. But, like, it can be way bigger if you have, like, a whole genetic cascade where it isn't just like, this is the gene that makes your arms X long and it tweaked it to make it Y long. Now you have, like, this thing of, like, what your arms look like overall, how they're formed, how they function, so on and so on and so on. I know there's a fuckload of information, but does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, that was a fuckload. I think I was able to understand a bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I processed about half of that.
I don't know if this question was answered. How does our body know to develop these specific traits that massively help us in this environment? In a specific environment?
They don't. So what you're talking about, we're talking about little itty bitty changes getting better and better. So you look at, for example, Michael Phelps, right? Michael Phelps is an anatomically modern human with just crazy big feet and is able to hold his breath longer than most humans and also doesn't fatigue the same way that we do. These are random mutations that make him so goddamn good at swimming that he can't stop winning gold medals for it. So, like, these little bit of changes, if we were in an environment where we were dependent on swimming to survive, like the Baju people, for example, Michael Phelps would be having all sorts of kids. He would be surviving way longer. He'd be having all sorts of babies, and then his babies would have all of these crazy adaptations as well. So what we have here, when we talk about evolution, you remember it's evolution doesn't happen to individuals, it happens to populations. You have one just complete accident, like Michael Phelps. He didn't need to swim better, so he got bigger feet and better lungs. Those are things he was born with, and as a result, he's better at swimming. We call it evolution, we call it adaptation, when that is then passed on to his offspring and starts to spread throughout the population over multiple generations. So in a situation like with the Baju people, the one dude who was shockingly good at swimming, having more kids, was just a freak accident. But then the population change that has as a result of him and then his kids and then their kids and then their kids being that good at swimming, that creates an adaptation that we then refer to as an evolutionary change. And remember, adaptation is a really weird word because it can be used to refer to a process or an actual evolutionary change or any one part of you. So like if I say that polar bears have black skin, which absorbs extra sunlight and keeps them warmer, the black skin is an adaptation. Them developing black skin is the process of adaptation. And adaptation is the situation of them having that black skin. All of that works. So it's a weird word and it gets confusing really fast. If you're interested in more of this, especially the whales thing, episode 1 of my series on here on YouTube called The Light of Evolution, I go into a little bit more detail about whale evolution. I talk about how it shows this and that and the other. And then in episode 3, I talk about genetic cascades and just how crazy they can get. And it's super just layman's, anybody can understand it kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of yours, so I've been meaning to watch it.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll watch that. And actually,
yeah, check it out. You might like it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I will. I think you perfectly answered my question. Honestly, complete accident, slow process through thousands and millions of years, and happens to population. That makes sense to me.
And I just want to leave you with one little cherry on top. I left like 80% of it out because like all we talked about right now is just neo-Darwinian evolution, which is just changes in allele frequency affecting populations through selection pressure. If you factor in epigenetics as well, where you change not only what the genes are, but how the genes are expressed, you can have, oh my glob, so much more. Anyway, I encourage you to check out my Light of Evolution series. It'll answer a bunch more of that. It'll go into a lot more detail on these things.
I definitely will. Thanks for your help, Forrest. Big fan of yours.
Hey, thank you so much, Mo. I appreciate you hanging on the line for so long.
It's all good. Have a good one.
Take care, dude. Bye-bye.
Chat was calling me out. They were like, "Oh, Hazel's getting distracted," and I was like, "No, I'm googling the Bajau people. I'm googling things you were talking about." That's what I was doing. That and keeping an eye on the chat. Got to make sure they're in line.
The Bajau people are cool as shit, and you can also look up people in like South America that live way up in the mountains. The descendants of the Inca, and they have way bigger lungs for the exact same reason. It's super cool.
I'm jealous. I live on an island, and that would be really nice to be able to just swim underwater for a really long time.
Canada's an island? That's crazy.
I live on an island in Canada. Yeah, weird.
What? In the middle of Canada, just an island. It's wild.
Yeah, right in the middle. Yep. Yeah, that's they don't show that in on maps because they don't want you to know.
Right. I know little about Canada. One of our other hosts is Canadian, Shannon. She is also a Canadian man, and it's great to just tell her all the things we don't know and watch her get so frustrated with us for not knowing the basics about our country.
I'm dual citizen,
as
so
you have
I'm familiar with the Americans.
There you go. And finally, last but not least, we've got one call left. We've got Faye, pronouns she, her, calling in from the UK. asking about some issues of lobbying and whatnot. Faye, you're on the line. You're our last call of the day. How you doing?
Hi, Forrest. Hi, Hazel. I guess my question is just, you mentioned about the issues of lobbying earlier, and I'm just wondering if you were to change, hypothetically, if you could change it so that companies had to profit share with their employees, and that like the different tiers of employees were just like a percentage above the base number, would that solve any of these issues?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that as a solution. Because, well, I mean, sharing like board seats and stuff has been done in, I believe, Germany, and like obviously they're doing some stuff that is frustrating, such as shutting down all the nuclear plants. But it has shown significant improvements in like worker quality of life, whatever, by making it so that workers have to have a say. They have to sit on the board. I think that it would definitely help solve some problems. And then also, this is where we get to the power of unions to solve a bunch of problems that can't be solved by just people writing petitions. So yeah, Forrest, go ahead.
I was going to say that exact same thing. Is that like, you know, I've gone on many a rant about capitalism on this channel before, and one thing that I always like to ask is, you know, if the workers owned the company, if the people doing the work and making the product and doing the service and all that also had a say in the way the company was going and how the profits were being spent and who was being sold to and how the things were being marketed, if they had that influence, do you think that they would have massive layoffs so that the people at the top could buy their own stock? Do you think that they would be moving the factory overseas and giving their jobs away? Do you think that they would be investing in the power plant that's polluting their own community? Do you think that they would be doing the thing that's causing the massive habitat destruction that's affecting their children? The only reason why these things are able to happen, and the only reason indeed why they do, is because the top 1% of the people that own more than 40% of all the wealth in the whole world, these people don't give a shit. They're taken care of. They're able to buy a boat and live on it for the next 50 years, and so climate change doesn't matter. They're able to invest in bunkers. They're able to buy a politician. Can you buy a politician? Can you afford a lobbyist? Of course not. So like this doesn't apply. The same rules don't apply to you. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the idea of like.
Yeah, Faye, I see that you're in the UK, so I don't know if these rules are the same in the UK. I assume that there's nothing saying that workers have to have a say, but I don't know. I'm sure that UK doesn't have do they? That's a good question. I don't know. Do they have like a Citizens United where it's like companies can give unlimited money to politicians and they can just buy them wholesale? They don't. They do.
They have similar loopholes like they have in the US. So there's supposedly limits on how much donations can be given to politicians, but there are ways around it. But I was just thinking, if you had that sort of like a fixed increase of pay going up, then you wouldn't have these incredible disparities between those at the bottom and those at the top. And countries with lower disparity then have fewer problems generally, but also it means that there isn't that huge amount of money that the rich people have that you can buy politicians with.
Wouldn't that be wild?
I just I also just read a study from Oxfam talking about how actually two things. One, alleviating severe poverty would not noticeably increase pollution or make climate change worse. So that's interesting. That's not the thing. The other thing is that solving inequality is like a climate solution. Like the top 10% and then the top 1% pollute way more than everybody else. And so solving that in like vast disparity would like take us a good chunk of the way to solving the whole damn problem. Yes, I just wanted to throw that in as like, yeah, it would solve a bunch of the problems, including the one that I talk about a lot. But yeah, I think
that is really a thing, man. It's like I travel by air from time to time when I need to. I don't have a private jet. So like just flying me, you know what I mean? That's kind of a whole other ball game as far as like, I need to get here tomorrow, so I need to fly. At least I'm taking like 80 other people with me, you know?
Yeah, and like Faye is saying, then there wouldn't be all of this extra money to throw at politicians to buy politicians and to lobby, because there just aren't these ultra bazillionaires with the power to change legislation to their favor to let them fly their fucking private jets more or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be done there, like making it illegal, for example. I know this is a radical idea, but like making it illegal for politicians to play the stock market, because your job is to do the things that affect the stock market. And when you know what's going to happen to the stock market before trading on the stock market, that's illegal for everybody else.
Understand how that's
crazy
legal.
Would that be, right? And like that's where we're at, is that like it's so easy. It's almost impossible not to be a corrupt politician, especially in this country. So like
I see.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Going with the would it be a good idea to have workers be like shareholders in the company? I recently saw some shareholder votes that are so funny, like funny in a horrible way. But it's like Apple will say something along the lines of, "Hi shareholders, it's shareholder vote time. Do you think that we should look into all the child labor that we're doing? Do you think that we should try to increase the amount of devices that we recycle?" And the best part is they'll give recommendations. So should we work on, try to eliminate child labor? Apple recommends no. Should we give our executives a massive bonus? Apple recommends yes. And guess fucking what? It always goes the way Apple recommends because it is its shareholders. Right. So like it's crazy. And I mean, if you own stock in Apple, you theoretically could vote, but you're not gonna because you own it on Robinhood. And anyway, this is something that's come to my attention, is that these shareholder votes are cartoonishly evil. It's just Google them. It's nuts. So if workers were there really and they were shareholders, there you go.
One other thing that I think is really important that not a lot of people talk about is, sorry?
I was going to say, part of my idea is that you wouldn't have shares. The money would just get given to the workers. So there wouldn't be this sort of like externalizing of where the profit goes. It all stays within the company.
Yeah. That's one of the many reasons why capitalism is inherently anti-democratic, but that's just, what I'm saying, they're wrong. But the
getting rid of shareholders and stocks would be tricky. I don't know off the top of my head how that would work, but
I think one thing that should be explored more is extended responsibility, extended corporate liability. So like, for example, you have a company that makes, whatever, milk cartons, something, after the product is used, it's thrown away. And then it's waste management's problem. It goes into a landfill or whatever. The idea of extending that responsibility, so after the product has been bought, consumed, used, and disposed of, that corporation is still responsible for making sure that these products are disposed of properly, either by making sure that they're all biodegradable or investing in the kind of waste management that would require to take care of that specific kind of product, or making sure that there's an easy and effective way to dispose of that product in a safe and environmentally friendly way. Like, extending the responsibility of a corporation past the point of individual sale would also be pretty huge, because it would put the ball back in their court to say, hey, you're still a part of the planet even after you got done destroying it to make the shit. You also have to figure out what to do with the shit afterwards. That would be another huge one that I think is really important to talk about.
Yeah. And the other side of that coin would be due diligence legislation of, you just have to tell us what, like, you can't subcontract all this shit out. You have to tell us exactly what's going on through the whole supply chain and after, extended producer responsibility. So yes, both important.
Yeah, so no more selling all your rubbish to China to be put into landfill, claiming that you've solved your rubbish problem.
Yeah, but we're sending it there to recycle it, so it's okay.
Yeah. What fucking kills me is the fact that little triangle of arrows, the whole recycling symbol, it's just a symbol now. It doesn't actually mean, they use it to identify types of plastics, even ones that can't be recycled. They put it on there, even if it's non-recyclable, to make people think that it's all being recycled and it's beautiful. No, it's just a fucking symbol that means nothing now.
There's like two different ones where it's like, if there's one that's just triangles, that one doesn't mean it's recyclable. But if the triangles are round, then it's recyclable. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
and you can't even barely tell the difference. And then there's like a whole system here in the States, at least, where like inside the triangle there be a number. And I remember number 1 is polyethylene tetrafthylate, which is super great to recycle, and you can make a million different things out of it. But number 3 is bullshit, and you can't. It's like a high density polymer that you can't do anything with. And it's like, unless you memorize the chemical compositions of all of these and which ones are which, you can't make informed decisions. It's and
then
rough,
they're like, just make sure that only numbers 1, 6, 5 go into this bin. It's like, nobody's gonna do that. It's just not gonna happen.
Yup. It's wild, yo. Anyway, Faye, do you have any thoughts about the things that we just rambled about?
Yeah, I don't remember what the original question was.
Gamut of things. So, just thank you for your input. And can I just say, Dave was a great call screener, and Jimmy, go fuck yourself.
Love that. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Take care, Faye. That's excellent.
Thank you.
Well, we've had an amazing batch of callers today. This is a great show so far. And with that, let's move on to Super Chats, because I saw we got a bunch of them.
Wait.
And then we'll
Real
proceed.
Quick.
Yeah.
Some people in the chat wanted to see what my shirt said. So I think we should both do a shirt reveal, because I see that you're wearing something that says free. I want to know what it is.
Yeah.
So what does your shirt say?
Mine says Free Mars on it.
Free Mars?
And on the back, it says Martian Independence Now. This is a thing from a dumbass viral video that I did where I talked about how after the first generation of children are born on Mars and are raised there, and then they have their kids, then like, number 1, the first person born on Mars, we now have to all put planet of origin on our passports, which is crazy. And then once they have kids, those kids are going to ask, my parents were born here and I was born here. What do I owe the planet Earth anymore? And that is when the revolution, the war of planetary independence begins. And so this is me being a part of a conflict that isn't going to happen for a century today. Free Mars, Martian independence today, even though it hasn't even come close to being an issue yet. Fuck yeah, free Mars. This is my campaign shirt, you know?
Free Mars from the tyranny of Elon, because I'm sure he's going to be their, benevolent leader. My shirt says, some people thought that he was too intense, and my friend bought it for me because he said, I looked at this shirt and I was like, that's Hazel. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know how to take that, but now I do wear it. And I like that the cat is smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer. So that's my shirt. I saw like 3 times in the chat, like, Hazel, what does your shirt say? And I'm like, I can't tell you right now because they're talking about bonobos over there, but now I can.
Forrest,
I love how mine is just, I'm a cringy YouTuber wearing his own fucking merch. And you're like, I just have this dope ass cat smoking down, having a great day. Love that.
Oh, I have cringy merch too. I just am not currently wearing it, but.
So what the audience doesn't know, but I have to bring up before I tell you this, Forrest, I was so excited to eventually play the 20-minute tone for you. Listeners, we've added a new thing where we just sort of like remind the host how long they've been on a call. At 10 minutes, we play a little sound in their ear. Usually you all can't hear that, but that sounds like this. Just a little ding dong in their ear. Just says it's been 10 minutes. I was so excited for eventually to hit 20 minutes because I wanted to see your reaction too. It just seemed like it'd be funny.
Great.
That's the wrap it up call.
I was expecting it.
This one's gone too long.
I was really expecting it to be like an awooga.
Right, it's something. A $1,000,000%. I was expecting someone to moan in my ear or something like that. Yeah,
just a deep
ooh for sure.
Ooh. I feel like
that makes me feel like I'm on. I feel like I'm on Nickelodeon Arcade with that. Like I'm gonna go fight the Game Wizard or whatever the fuck it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone asked what t-shirt.
Yeah, I feel like that sounds like you asked a bad question. Try again.
Mm-hmm. Who's your least favorite climate denier? Who do you hate the most, Hazel? Yeah, of course you. I don't care who Forrest dislikes.
Jordan fucking Peterson, because he speaks the same language as like a lot of, skeptics, intellectuals and stuff. And he tweets stuff that like at first blush, it's like, oh, that makes sense. And then you think about it for like 30 seconds and you're like, wait, no. And I know so many people who like his original 12 life lessons, whatever the fuck, like helped. And now he's just unhinged and I don't know what happened. And I don't know why he's doing that. And what's that?
Do you bloody mind? I like making fun of his silly Kermit voice.
Yeah.
Well, what is climate change? What is it?
Woke moralists.
Who knows? Yeah, we'll see who
cancels who.
Up yours, woke moralist.
That's what it was. God, I couldn't remember. Up yours, woke moralist. God, what a fucking icon of yours, woke moralist. All right, yeah, he's my favorite. He's my favorite climate denier for sure. Because
I can't wait till his full descent into madness ends, and then people start to ironically like him because it's funny. But in the meantime, his current madness
getting there. I do follow him on Twitter, but like I shouldn't.
Forrest,
what were you gonna say?
When you want to look into the sun.
I was gonna say, did you see on Twitter when he sent he put that fucking graph of like climate variation?
Not only that, but I
debunked fucking
it. 1890s.
Yeah, exactly. He posted a fucking climate graph that ended in the 1800s. It was like, I don't see any climate change here. See this? It's right on level. And everyone's like, can you fucking read? You have a doctorate. How do you fucking know that?
Okay, but
like,
did everyone see his milking thing this week though?
What?
He posted something from a fetish website of thinking it was a real thing, basically a Chinese sperm milking farm, and it's like dudes strapped down with their dicks connected to this thing.
This is what communism does.
Yeah, and he's like, "Welcome to our CCP hellscape."
This is the future Democrats want.
Oh, by the way, I was looking at that machine going, "Sign me the fuck up." I didn't know I was into that.
Yeah. It blows me away how little thought he puts into the shit that he posts and how much people fucking cheer it. And it's crazy. Like you literally just saw a thing and hit retweet. Like with no fucking understanding of the fact that I have millions of people listening to me and it fucking matters if I'm wrong. Like
his whole brain is just clogged up with cholesterol from all the meat he's eating. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore.
Yeah, how does he? Could someone explain to me how he doesn't have scurvy? He says he never cheats on his diet. He must have scurvy at this point.
It reminds me. I
want to know how long it takes him to poop.
That's me too.
Seriously. It reminds me a lot of like the Matt Walshes and Joe Rogans of the world who like have gotten away with just saying the dumbest possible shit for so long and then saying either you can't believe me, I don't need to be believed, or like if you disbelieve me, it's because you're politically motivated or whatever the fuck other thing. Like at this point, it's just a desperate bid to remain relevant. The same way with Ben Shapiro. It doesn't matter if I'm wrong. People are talking about me, so it's okay. And like, just fuck, bro. Come on. Like, just try. Yeah. Just try.
And they all have like the silliest little voices. They're just so easy to make fun of.
People in the chat are speculating about what shirt I'm wearing. If someone pays $10, I'll show you, but I don't do this shit for free. $10 super chats or more. We're about to start the super chat portion. If you do not, if we don't get enough super chats to sustain the show tonight, we do have to sell the show to Jordan Peterson. So if you bloody mind, could you send
send a $10 super chat or more? Do you bloody mind?
I'm sorry.
Cold-blooded.
There's nothing okay about what I do or who I am.
Okay.
Are you reading them or am I? What are we doing?
I think one of us should read them in the Jordan Peterson voice.
Yeah,
$10.
Jimmy, read all of those in Jordan Peterson.
I can't. I can switch between some accents, but I can't do all in Jordan.
$10. Hit it with a pen.
Oh, do I? Can I do Ben Shapiro? He's just sort of got a nerdy. But the thing about Ben Shapiro. The thing about Ben Shapiro isn't his voice. Okay, if somebody asks for the Ben Shapiro physical impression, I'll also appear on the screen to do that. Because there's a physical impression that's much more interesting than him. But I don't do any of this for free. But I could do Stewie Griffin. Let's see. Squid Super Hunk says, Forrest, you are cool. Hazel, you are cool. What? Jimmy, go heck yourself.
Oh, I don't like it anymore. It's too weird. Thank you so much, Squid Super Hunk.
Would you prefer to go back to Jordan Peterson?
Super Hunk, you're cool too.
Forrest, you are cool.
I don't like any of it.
Forrest is cool.
I feel like Kermit the Frog is trying to, like, it's so weird.
Kermit's up here, and then Jordan Peterson is like, Kermit, if you add
don't try to school me
if you add
on the weirdness.
Do you think you do impressions better than me, boy? We will fight this out.
No, I just know they make me uncomfortable.
Son.
I don't try to do the impressions because they make me feel strange. Listening to them is the same. I don't know, man.
You're gonna get me back.
Next
and
super
I'm
chat.
gonna become Charlie Day. That's what I do. Suck it.
Charlie Day.
You don't know who Charlie Day is? Enjoy life more. Find out what Charlie Day is.
Okay.
He's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
He is.
He's so funny. Who's reading this one?
$10 from Ember. I'm just going with it. $10 from Ember. It's Pi Day. Oh, fuck, it is. I didn't realize. What are each of your favorite irrational numbers? Do you have one? I 100% do.
Oh, damn. I wish I'd been given this question earlier, because I used to be like, I was a math major. I know things about math. I just I'm trying to conjure it back into my brain. You go first. Don't pick
I like
pi.
the square root of 2 because it's really important for scaling, and it's the reason why you can put a picture on a piece of paper and not have to worry about it falling off the edge of the piece of paper. And also because it's my favorite way to get people excited about the idea of irrational numbers is by doing contradiction and showing okay, so if the square root of 2 is rational, then we can prove it this way. And then you come up with an irrational number no matter what you do, just by basic rules of logic. And so you prove that it can't be a rational number, which I don't know how to do that with pi. I'm sure it would be possible. The square root of 2 is just easier. You know what I mean? So you can do the square root of 2 literally with just the number 2 and just 2 letters. Do it completely theory. And show that it is necessarily irrational. And if you want, we can go through it together as a family right now, but it'll take 5 minutes, and I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. Why not? No, somebody has to pay $10 for that. I'm getting wise to the game. $10 for proof why root 2 is irrational. I think I'm gonna pick E. Is E irrational? So if E's irrational, right? Thank God.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I, and then I Googled it and then realized that it wasn't.
That's imaginary.
So it's imaginary. I know that, but I was wondering if it was somehow both. Yeah. Anyway, we'll say E. I like E.
Yeah. No, E's irrational. That one's really important for calculus, for doing scales, right? For doing exponential growth. Isn't that right? Am I wrong? I don't know. I've forgotten about a lot of this. They're cool as shit.
Me too.
I like the square root of 69. It's irrational. Did you know?
Is it actually?
I feel like I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
How is that not everybody's answer? I don't know.
It is now.
I did the work.
I can
looking it up,
this one.
double checking.
It is.
Oh, never mind.
Is a number. The square root of 69 is not a perfect square. It is an irrational number. Well, Michael, look at that.
I think I just made it up.
Well,
you are so keen
don't
to
know
be
when you're telling me the truth.
Don't anybody believe this Jimmy Snow character?
It's literally a skepticism channel. I'm checking. What do you want from me?
Believe me without question. I'm trying to start a cult.
22 theoretical dollars from Rosie Raid. Can we talk about how the Western world already does so much to help with climate change? Well, we have China burning 50% of coal and usage, and India 11%. What are we supposed to do about that? 10-minute showers seem mute. Showers.
Yeah, 10-minute showers seem moot.
Showers.
I think she meant, or I think Rosie meant moot, but correct.
No, she did. I misread both of those words, and I'm embarrassed.
10 minutes showers seem mute. I feel like that's something else. That's something that Jordan Peterson would retweet and say, this is what the Democrats want you to. Okay, anyway. Hi, Rosie. God. Great question. Thank you for asking.
My brain
fellow
just
Canadian.
I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad question, and I feel like this is a very common talking point for people who don't want to do more shit about climate change. So let's talk about it. First of all, China burning 50% of the coal, India 11%. Yeah. I think that China is really, really rapidly fixing their shit. India, I'm not 100% sure of what their green transition is looking like, but China is doing it mostly just because at this point it's an economic advantage to do the green transition ASAP, which American and Canadian politicians could stand to learn a little bit more about. Anyhow, so yeah, China burning 50% of coal, India 11%. And then the other thing I have two more points about that, about the what about China, what about India. which is per capita. So like you look at the collective carbon emissions of China is like similar to the collective carbon emissions of the US. I don't quite remember who's higher, but like be like, well, look at these guys. They're emitting more, right? Yeah. And
I just double checked. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just double checked. And yes, sure. China is the #1 carbon polluter in the world. Yeah. The United States is #2. So even if you want to say, yeah, well, China's so bad, we're second fucking place. We need to get our shit together. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry.
And we have so much more money. And per capita emissions. Do you know who has the highest per capita emissions, Rosie? It's us. It's Canadians by a lot. And China has quite low per capita emissions, just because they started developing later. So the per capita emissions is like, we can't just be like, they're emitting almost as much as the US, or they're emitting more than the US. Therefore, we need to wait for them to lead the way. They have so many people. Oh no, I have so much to say about this. Okay, I'm just going to keep going until somebody stops me. Another thing to consider about what about China, what about India, is a lot of us in the developed, rich world are shipping our own emissions to China. So like, let's say most of the stuff in my house is made in China or made in India, or probably true. I don't think most of this shit's assembled in Canada. That means that like, unless you account for imported and exported emissions, which is like, I'm not sure if it always is, if it sometimes is, but a lot of the emissions in China would be manufacturing shit that we buy. So we should think about that. And then the last one is that carbon emissions are like a stock and not really a flow. So like it's per year, it's worse in China. However, the US and Canada have been emitting for like 100 years, and China is just getting there, and India is just getting there. And so if you look at all-time polluters, like it's not even close. So that's another thing to consider. And then the rich world should obviously be leading the world in, the green transition, and then sharing that technology with countries that are just starting to develop and just coming up. That's kind of our responsibility because we've put all of this garbage into the atmosphere. So that is what I have to say, and I think I've run out of oxygen. So there you go.
The point about
you said
the point about China doing our manufacturing was the one I was waiting for someone to say, because I can't remember who it was. It's hard to find it, but someone did the numbers, and like, if they didn't manufacture for the West, their emissions would be lower than all of ours. It's literally ours. And like, we are emitting England, through China.
The UK claims to be like carbon neutral or some shit like that. And then if you look, they claim that their carbon emissions are starting to decrease, I believe is what it is. And then if you look at all of the emissions, they're essentially exporting to China to have them do the emissions for them. Very different picture. Yeah, it's nuts. That's interesting. I would like to see a source on that because I didn't know that.
It is crazy how good the West is at creating a boogeyman. You know what I mean? We're going to use China for all these things. We're going to ship jobs to India for all these things. We're going to do it, and then blame them for the carbon and the economy and all these terrible things they're doing. Like, fuck, dude.
Like they made all this shit. Canada, none of this. I'm too cheap to have anything made in Canada. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when we talk about veganism. Not to get too off track, but like it is prohibitively expensive for a lot of people, and it's the same thing when we talk about this kind of consumer capitalism. That we have like this global capitalist economy causing horrible emissions. Yeah, if you're not fucking rich and you can't afford to buy everything local, everything super clean and beautiful, and all that, like, yeah, man.
And it's all because it's fucking the bad shit's subsidized. That's why it's not even cheaper, like as a concept. It's just cheaper because they're already entrenched interests. But like, if like all things being equal, it should be cheaper to be vegan, but it's not, because animal agriculture is like a deeply like they run the whole damn government. Okay, great question, Rosie. Thank you for because that is something I
you don't want to talk about veganism. It's always
I do want to know. Let's go. Let's go. I'll talk about veganism.
Well, I've done it. I've done it. Trust me. It's crazy. It's like so stupid. Every time we talk about it, we have 50 different people who are huge supporters of everything we stand for and being like, yeah, but fuck you. I posted a picture of, I told you about this when I was in Austin. I posted a picture. I was driving through Alabama, and there were these two like dinosaur play sets that were like fenced off because there were these really old, dangerous metal shit things from like the 40s. And so it's this big metal dinosaur in this little fenced area. And I took a picture of it and I was like, I put on Instagram, like, look, these cages are way too small for these dinosaurs. This is inhumane. We can't have this. And I had people on there like, says the fucking dick who eats farmed animals. What do you know about humane treatment? I'm like, it's a fucking metal dinosaur playset, bro. Like, they can't let the joke go. They can't do it.
Oh no, guys.
Yeah.
As a vegetarian who's largely vegan, chill out. Relax. Ooh, fun fact. Do you know why Canada has the highest emissions per capita of any other country?
Why?
It's from all the weed we smoke.
That can't be true. We have Colorado. You can see Colorado smoking from space.
I don't know, man. Have you seen British Columbia, Canada? Boy, oh boy.
Yeah,
right.
Colorado's got the dankest shit in the whole damn world.
Whoa.
Oh, I'll have this fight any day.
Well,
I'm ready.
We'll talk about this offline.
Let's trade weed.
Let's trade.
This one's this is a super
that can
chat.
only go well. Just ship it in a little envelope. Just a regular old letter line.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to the thing that's a compliment for me.
Oh yeah.
Wow, thanks so much.
You go and read it. Go for you.
Compliment yourself.
Oh my god.
Read your own compliment.
I have to compliment myself.
It's kind of mean.
Yeah.
This is
Make it
feminism.
as awkward as possible.
This is the world feminist one.
This is the future feminist one. Wow, $10 from Light Halcyon. That's a great username. That like really, it's a vibe. 20 minutes in, Hazel might be my new fave. Oh, thanks so much. Does that mean I get my own show now? I'm not saying we should go on 6 hours, but I'm working and need to stay up anyway. We're having a freak late winter snowstorm here. Oh, well, there goes. I mean, you're having a freak late winter snowstorm. That's not. So climate change is fake, I guess. Can you like scoop up a, a snowball and like take it to us and then we'll be like, we were wrong.
Did you ask if you could have your own show?
No.
I think you did.
Well,
did you post?
No, I said I think that's the rules.
Did you post this show on your socials?
Yeah, of course I did.
Okay, maybe then. We'll see. I don't see a story on Instagram is all.
What? I posted 2 stories.
She did tag us in a story on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't tag the show. I just linked it. I didn't tag it. I linked it. And I tagged Forrest.
Let's see.
I didn't do it on Twitter
because I'm
Twitter is strictly for shit posting, but
you gonna screen grab some highlights for the TikToks? We're not really on TikTok. I'm told we need to be there.
No, you don't.
No, we kind of do.
Instagram Reels is good. TikTok is a shit show.
Every Thursday we do a show. We're thinking about streaming vertically to TikTok these episodes because every Thursday we do an episode posted by trans people on trans issues, and somehow that's the hardest one to get an audience from, despite the fact it's like the number one issue everyone's talking about all the time, but they're afraid of the call-in. I don't know what's going on. So I think we have to go to TikToks for that. I agree, though. TikTok's a garbage place for garbage people. If you like TikTok, I hate you.
It is wild. It's
bad.
It's really bad.
If you're primarily a TikToker,
it's my largest.
I hate you. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's my largest platform by a lot.
Yeah, you have like over 1 million followers, aren't there, right?
1.4, and I don't ever post there anymore. I post there like twice a month because it just fucking sucks. I put weeks of energy and time and planning and work into a YouTube video because it's fucking awesome and it's sustainable and they treat me like a human. TikTok, if I remember that I have one, I might post something sometime when I'm bored enough to do so anymore. Like, my audience over there is fucking awesome. The people who follow me, such a cool community. My comment sections are great. Love those guys. It is so not worth my energy and stress to try to keep up with TikTok's bullshit. It's man.
I was primarily a TikTok person, but now I'm mostly focusing on Reels just because TikTok is like really suppressing views and I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong all of a sudden. I think it might be because I talk about political stuff. Anyway, whatever.
Well, no,
it's fine.
I like
TikTok. Jordan Peterson would like 50%. TikTok. That's all that was.
She would. 50% of the videos that I posted this year have not reached more than 1% of my total following list.
Yeah,
50%.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, that would be like 140,000 views, which is pretty good for a TikTok video.
No, it'd be 14,000.
70% of the
Go to
time,
decimal
it
place
works
one
10%
more
of
time.
the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not a scientist.
It's okay.
14,000. Oh God. No shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
It
interesting.
blows, dude. Come here to the HOSTility and listen to online influencers bitch about not being paid attention to enough. That's what the show is
Why
about.
isn't anybody looking at my videos?
Everybody go screen grab highlights and put them all over TikTok. Do it for us. That'd be great. And I don't
There's
have to go there.
there's a clip of me on AXP that somebody else posted. Atheist Community of Austin has a channel, and they posted a clip of me. Somebody else took that clip and posted on their channel, and it's got like 8 million views. And it's like, I get none of the benefit of that. 0%.
I'm in a couple of multi-million view clips all over the place, but literally, like, my highest video on my original channel only has like 985,000 views. It's like so close,
right?
But it won't break the million mark. I've never had a million mark YouTube
like
episode myself. It makes me sad.
It's so frustrating.
Makes me
I
sad,
do also
boy.
want to point out quickly before we move on that, like, I completely, to the people listening to this, 110% I understand how it sounds listening to like a social media person be like, blah, my views and my numbers and blue-ba-doo. I know it fucking sucks. You have to understand this is our job.
No.
Like, these things matter. You know what I mean?
I'd like to the same.
I remember before this was my job, I used to get so annoyed hearing like internet people do inside baseball about like, oh, the algorithm, and now I'm one of those bitches.
I don't care if you're listening and you don't like it. I genuinely don't give a fuck.
Too.
If you don't like it, go away.
Like,
I don't care. Fuck you.
I get paid.
No, if you don't
on
like
YouTube,
it, I'm
somebody
right there with
sends
you.
me a contract. Right? We all hate it. We hate hearing it and we hate saying it, but it's like, it's corporate gossip. On YouTube, I get a contract and they're like, get this many views and we'll give you this many money. And I'm like, okay. And then I do the thing and it happens and it's predictable. You do that on TikTok, it's a fucking crapshoot.
No,
and it could cost you a paycheck. It could cost you a contract. It could cost you a relationship with a company. Like, you can't do it. It's not sustainable.
That was a terrible summary of the YouTube contract, though. That was like that was terrible.
That's the whole thing, isn't
I always
it?
feel bad
you
when
say,
I do paid
say
content.
these words in a video
This will
and
either
we'll give
get
you X money.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
I'm always like,
YouTube's
this will either get
contract.
900,000 views or 1,000, and I can't tell you which one it's going to be, but pay me money anyway.
Oh, I can predict a video's success. The ones that you care about will do bad, and the ones that are one-offs, bullshit, minimum effort will do really good.
So true.
Yeah, that's very predictable. I'm also mad at the audience because no one paid to see my shirt or my Ben Shapiro impression. So
oh well.
Everyone can leave.
I'm mad that nobody paid to listen. Let me explain the square root of 2, but here we are. The things that we care about get squashed and our dreams go down the toilet. And at the end of the day, we just get to be influencers. That's our lot in life.
Drake already explained the square root of 69. Do you get that reference?
Nice.
Do you get it? It's from a song.
Oh yeah.
The square root of 69 is 8 something, right? Because I've been trying to figure it out. Anyway.
See, it's funny because I don't know what song that is. I don't know how it goes. I just remember that from the memes.
Oh, is there memes?
There's memes. Yeah. I mean, I think it came out when I was a math major, so.
Tight.
I'm an out of touch little nerd, and so like I don't know what any of this is. I couldn't name a Drake song if you asked me to. I don't know what's going on.
You could name Hotline Bling. Okay. Okay.
I didn't know that was him. Hey, I know that song. I didn't know that was Drake. I don't know what anything is.
He's the guy who's
$20 more.
Oh, fine.
What?
Nah,
$20 more. Well,
just move on.
I was going to move on because I'm
embarrassed
by how out of
Drake
touch with
anymore.
pop culture I am.
Huh?
$20 from Light Halcyon. I do emergency management. Send over found that. What does that mean? Send over found that 1, profits are privatized and the public pays for disaster at all governmental levels, and 2, mitigation would make a difference, but we never seem to have money for it. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it, isn't it? It's just fucking like, here's the easy solution to the problem, but it would help poor people. So that's not going to happen. Instead, we're going to continue doing this dumb shit. That is, you just described the global north political climate in a nutshell for the past 400 years.
Yeah. I mean, we see that with hospitals. We see that with emergency services. We see that with fucking banks. What is SEK?
What
is that?
When I was but a youth, the chant was banks got bailed out and we got sold out, and we would yell that in the streets all day long.
It's
socialism for we, but not for thee.
It's Swedish krona.
Precisely.
Swedish krona, cool.
Oliver Blomqvist sent us 100 secs and says, have you got any good advice for someone who is finding it difficult to stay hopeful and not give up on the face of this coming cataclysm? What do you think, Hazel?
Oh, yeah. So what you do is you take your despair and then you you take like a flat spatula and you flip it over, and then on the other side is rage. And I would recommend being mad, because being mad all the time, it's more productive, it's more fun, honestly, and it keeps you going. You know, you can have a sense of humor about how mad you are, but being mad is a lot easier than feeling hopeless and giving up. So and also I think hopefulness and being pissed off go hand in hand, because it's like, we can make this better and we're going to, or else. So that's what I do, is I don't have like the kind of like, you know, hopefulness where it's like, oh, I think I'm an optimist and I think everything's going to turn out just fine. Oh no. Am I still here? Yeah, I'm still here. Okay. My computer fell asleep. And that's now I forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, I think like getting mad, staying hopeful, you know, and also just doing stuff, like doing anything makes you feel better than doing nothing, even if it's like not going to help anything in the long run. Like just getting involved, write a letter to, I don't know, some kind of a political person, a representative, something like that. That's what I'd say. Yeah, get mad, get loud. How about yourself, Forrest?
Yeah, I would parrot that. Anger is a gift. And so make sure to use it. Don't fall into listlessness and ennui and despair, but instead use that agitation on your politicians, on your local Congress peoples. Let them know why you're upset, and more importantly, let other people know why you're upset. Because anybody can ignore you, but nobody can ignore like a few million people at a time, unless you're the fucking president. And then millions and millions of people sign letters saying stop Willow, and you do it the fuck anyway. But the cool thing is, that many people that sign those letters and that sign those petitions and everything, that's more voting power than most states. So if all of those people say, hey, guess what? Fuck you in the next election, it would matter. Unless Donald Trump runs again. And then you kind of,
fuck you in the primary, I'll say.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you in the primary. And then the Democratic convention comes along and says, yeah, we know you voted for Bernie Sanders again, but you don't know what the fuck you want. We're going to give you this guy. And then we're right back where we started. How is the best case scenario, Joe Biden? It's a bad time.
Thanks, Oliver.
What's the music we've got going on now?
Y'all like these sweet lo-fi beats?
I guess it's over.
Nah. I just feel like adding some music.
Oh, I thought there was like fade out music.
Yeah. Thank you to the Academy.
Yeah, I thought you were trying to tell me to shut up.
Nah, I just didn't know the not rude time to do it. You could be a little more prompt, though. We're not getting through these super chats very quick. Let's find a different one.
That's 100 secs.
Yeah, this is a... Oh, I like this one. Okay, let's...
We spent a really long time talking about Drake.
And not enough time talking about
elevator
Kanye.
Music vibe.
It's lo-fi. This is not elevator music. Take it back. This is a classy establishment. Please.
$10. This is a classy elevator. $10 from the Toaster Pirate.
Fuck you.
Sorry for the stuttering and ums. I was very nervous. Thank you for your help. Signed, Emily. You did great. Especially considering the fact that you're calling into a thing where a bunch of people are going to hear you. Like, I would be fucking nervous too on my first times doing those things.
Yeah.
And even then, I genuinely didn't notice any issue. So, sincerely, it wasn't a big deal. And even if it was, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you a bunch. But you also had a really very interesting question and really interesting perspective. So thanks for that, Emily.
No one expects you to be perfect here. Even our hosts suck.
No, yeah, we're disasters.
It's not you. You're not a host. You're a guest.
Oh no, I'm a disaster too. So it's okay.
You're good. I wouldn't be mean to you this early on. We've just met. Forrest, however.
Yeah. 20 pounds. what you've got, Helen Lawson sent the exact amount of weight that I've gained over the last year. With the loss of ice caps and moving weather patterns, reducing water supply and industry poisoning what is left, is there an active map showing in color the state of water supplies around the world? Great show. I don't know of one. I can say that less than 1% of the water on the planet is like drinkable fresh water that isn't fucked with yet. I'm pretty sure that's the number that I remember from a long time ago.
It's all got fucking PFAS in it. It's all red.
Yeah, hold on a second. I was gonna Google it. How much water on Earth is drinkable?
I'm gonna look up water quality map. We're gonna Google through this together.
National Geographic Society says about 3% of Earth's fresh water is fresh water. That I remember from EnviroSci. Of that, only 1.2% can be used as drinking water. The rest is locked up in glaciers, ice caps, and permafrost, or buried deep in the ground. Most drinking water comes from rivers and streams. So 1.2% is potable water that's accessible, and of that, a dramatic amount of it is being used for industry or polluted beyond the possibility of use. Look up like Shell, for example, and the way that they fucking destroy water in the places where they're fucking drilling. Look up the countries where drinking water is more expensive than Coca-Cola. Shit'll make your blood boil, yo. Yeah, it's a bad time. It's a real bad time. $10 from Too Young to Feel This Old. Forrest, do you have any upcoming speaking engagements other than VidCon? I'm going to try to make VidCon. Not sure if I can yet. Welcome to the line, Hazel. Nice to meet you. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. So I'm doing VidCon. Before then, in the beginning of June, I'll be at NocoCon in New York. That's the one. Couldn't come up with that word for a second. I will also be... I've got a couple other things over there on the schedule that aren't like announced yet. There's a chance that I'll be at like this one biology conference. I'm probably going to be presenting my research at a colloquium at the university I'm at, but see if that's a public thing or not. Nothing interesting. So probably NocoCon and VidCon are the best times to go see me in the near future. But I do have some other stuff on the roster that may be available later, so we'll let you know. $10 from John. What was that?
I wonder if TikTokers are allowed at VidCon.
I mean, fuck, dude, I'm there. Maybe. I'm a feetor creator this year. But I don't know if it was my TikTok or my YouTube or what that got me in there. But this is their second year having me as a feature creator. Last year I went there and I lit a man on fire. And this year I'm going to go there and I'm going to blow up a trash can and blow ping pong balls all over people. But don't tell anybody yet because it's a big surprise. It's going to be awesome. $10 from John Muir. Great hair on both sides of the screen today. Is there a particular policy idea for combating climate change that isn't getting enough attention from environmentalists and or the left? Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I can't think of. Thank you very much for the compliment, and I can't think of one right off the top of my head.
Thank you, John. Your hair looks great today too, John. I found one recently. Holy moly, you guys. This is so underrated. It's so good. I kind of alluded to it earlier when we were talking about veganism. But animal agriculture subsidies, or just generally agriculture subsidies. Animal agriculture subsidies are particularly grody, but all agriculture subsidies everywhere. I think there was a study shown that 90% of agriculture subsidies in the world, almost 90%, 87%, is like not good for the planet, not good for most people, not good for anybody except for like, I guess, fucking Monsanto. And so if we literally, like, we wouldn't have to take any agriculture subsidies away because we need those to make sure people don't starve. But if we just shifted them around, literally just a little bit, just remixed them, we could like, I think 15% of global emissions are from agriculture. And if we just shuffled them around a little bit, we could feed more people, waste less food, have less methane emissions, have less CO2 emissions, have more local food, exploit fewer people. But it's so good. It's so good, man. Agriculture subsidies sounds so boring, but it's so interesting. And I've been reading so many papers. That's what I got.
Wasn't there a thing that I'm gonna misrepresent this because I only heard this a couple of times, but I remember it was think it was a Vox article or a Vox a piece that came out that was talking about the amount of water that we have, and they're like, everybody's blaming big business for like using too much water, but really what big business uses is about the same as like residential use. 70% goes to agriculture, mainly not even produce shit that we eat. 70% goes to producing feed for animals. Like, and so like that's just a huge amount.
And so this is a thing where like veganism is it can help because, you know, the more people drink oat milk, economies of scale, it gets more affordable, then more people drink oat milk, yada yada. So individual action can help, but it's not going to fix the fact that a fucking burger is cheaper than a fucking salad because we fucked up agriculture subsidies so bad. And like, just look at the land footprint of beef. It's nuts. So super underrated.
That alone
super
is
good
a huge
solution.
problem. I'm all for the idea of like planting like community gardens within cities as well, especially rooftop gardens. I used to talk about like here in Tulsa, there's this place called the Guthrie Green. Fuck off, Jimmy. There's this place called the Guthrie Green, which is it used to be like an oil field in the middle of downtown Tulsa, and they dug up all the old like gas machinery and shit, and they just planted this park that runs completely off of geothermal and solar energy. It's got stages. It's got like this big grassy area to hang out. It's got a restaurant. Everything's completely renewable. It reduces the energy costs of all the businesses around it because it's like a sink for heat and for everything. So you like reduce the cost of air conditioning. Just if you could put little rooftop gardens, little stacked vertical greenhouse on top of every building, and the people that work there get to go upstairs and get a salad fresh picked from the garden, and it absorbs carbon emissions and it reduces heat need for air conditioning.
But we need that land for parking lots. So where am I going to park? Okay.
Y'all made people complain about the lo-fis, so fine, we'll change it. Here's a K-pop playlist. We're going K-pop. You're welcome. No, it's K-pop. It's K-pop for the rest of the show.
I can read.
There's going to be lyrics on that, aren't there?
Might be. You won't understand them. May as well be an instrument.
Apologize to all the Koreans watching or Korean-speaking persons listening to this who are going to have to try to decipher.
I'm pretty sure we get like no Korean traffic, so
who knows?
All right, I'll switch to trap beats or something.
Who's reading?
You said you wanted to.
$10 from Mario Bartolome Seaman. That's a great name. Joe Biden going back on his climate promises and approving the Willow project seems like something straight out of the Star Wars prequels. Thanks, Newt Gunray. Newt Gunray. I'm trying to figure out what that is. What is that? Is that just his name?
It's a person from one of the prequels. You're a jazzy boy, aren't you, Forrest?
Me? Yeah, I'm all about jazz. Yeah.
All right, well, here's your jazzy boy playlist.
Ooh.
I also like opera.
I'm also a jazzy boy. I love jazz.
I'm all about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is even Muzak year. I have nothing to say except so true, Mario.
Yeah, no, it is wild. I don't know anything about Star Wars, but it does seem like the beginnings to some cataclysmic bullshit. $11 alleged from TACIS. Yeah, it's dollars that supposedly exist. Oh, I thought you were asking about my use of alleged. Like, Manitoulin Island, the world's largest freshwater island, is in Canada.
Whoa!
Wild.
I'm on the West Coast. I didn't know about this. Yo, that's dope. That's cool. I don't live in an island in the middle of Canada. I live in an island off the West Coast of Canada. But that is interesting. There is, in fact, an island in the middle of Canada that we just neglected to talk about.
That's wild. I love it.
Thank you for the Canadian dollars.
$10 more from right.
Thank you, Mario.
Is it? No, it is. Yes, it is. Well, thank you for the money again.
It's basically the same one they reposted.
You're still correct.
$20 from Joe White. Giuseppe Blanca. Are there any legit organizations trying to terraform the Earth? I don't know if terraform would be the right usage of the.
Yeah, that's called geoengineering.
I don't know if it would be functional. Yeah, I think
there are people trying to geoengineer the
Earth.
There. They shouldn't, but they
don't
do
fuck
be
it up any worse, please.
Yeah.
Just let it
Do you want
its own thing.
Snowpiercer? That's how we get Snowpiercer.
What was the
I
movie
haven't
where they
seen.
put rockets on one side of the Earth to move it out of the sun's orbit? Which movie was that?
Snowpiercer? I don't know.
No.
Bill
No,
and
it's
Ted's
like a
Excellent
famous
Adventure?
Never heard of it.
I don't know what the hell
Someone
you're talking
will know.
about. Thank
I
you,
guess you're
Joe.
waiting on me.
Music is good for my brain.
Money's towards helping Hazel Space, a reality. Let's go. I got the podcast mic already.
From Peebo Thulu. Toy.
Great name.
$10 from Mad Mads. Hey, Forrest, you should explain the squirt of 2. I'd be happy to. Let me break it down for you real smooth like.
The squirt, not the square root.
So,
Jasper is so smart.
2 things you need to know really quickly. Number 1 is you need to know what rational means. When we talk about rational numbers, we mean something that can be explained in a ratio. So, the number 3 is a rational number because, hey, thank you so much. The number 3 is a rational number because it can also be written as a ratio. We can say 3 is equal to 3 over 1, right? There's it has 1 slice of the pie and I have 3 of those slices, therefore there's 3 total things, right? So this is a rational number. A rational number is A over B, something over something. And because we know how fractions work, right? We know that these 2 numbers can't both be even. Right? So if I have the rational number 2 over 4, that doesn't work. I have to be able to break that down and reduce it to be 1 over half. So a rational number is expressed as a ratio, that's number 1, and the ratio has to have at least 1 odd number in there. It can't be even over even. It can be odd over odd, but it can't be even over even. That wouldn't be
Loving this
functional,
camera
right?
work.
It would have to be reduced.
Thank you.
It's pretty nice, right? And so what you've got now is, let me see if I can actually move this. You can, yes, perfect. Yes.
Hey, a stinker.
I had my face blown up on my thing here, so I wasn't seeing the latency, the lag. I just moved it and saw my own giant stupid head. So what we can do, let's assume that the square root of 2, here's square root of 2, is equal to a rational thing, that it's equal to A over B. Okay, let's assume that it's true and see what it means. So the first thing we can do is we can just take this whole thing and square it. Do that to both sides. So that way we can get rid of the square root. So now we have 2 is equal to A squared over B squared. That makes sense. We need to now isolate this, so we're going to multiply it by the denominator, right? And so now we have multiply this side by B squared and this side by B squared. So now we have 2 times B squared is equal to A squared. We now know that this is true. Well, this right here is a number. It's something. It's raised to the power of 2, but whatever. And this is definitely a number. 2 times something is A squared. How do we define an even number? An even number is 2 times a number, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. It's something divisible by 2. An odd number would be any even number plus 1, right? We could define them these ways. So this being 2 times some number equals another number means that A must be an even number. Because you can square an even number, get an even number, right? So it doesn't matter that it's square. So if we say the square root of 2, I'm going to put it over here. If we say the square root of 2 is equal to A over B, we know that A must be an even number. So that means B has to be an odd number for this to make sense, right? Well, let's try it. We plug this in. Since we know that A is an even number, we can just use this formula for even. And we can say that the square root of 2 is equal to 2n over B squared. And we do the same thing again. We multiply both sides by, we square both sides, multiply both sides by B, and we come up with the same goddamn thing. We came up with B equaling 2 times a number. There's a couple different ways you can get to this, but I've been talking way too long, so I'm just going to skip past it. So overall, we get this solution to say that the square root of 2, oh my god, that looks bad. The square root of 2 is equal to an even number over an even number. This doesn't make any sense. This is irrationality. This doesn't work, right? But if you look at any piece of printer paper, the ratio between the length and the width of that paper, or the length and the height, I should say, is the square root of 2. That ratio, those two numbers divided together, they'd make the square root of 2. And that's important, because if that wasn't the case, you would have to have a lot of problems like blowing up pictures and shit. It would be an issue because things would fall off the sides. Being the square root of 2 is the only way that it's sustainable. So you interact with the square root of 2 all the time, every day. It's all around you. Just like how pi is all around you. If you take any circle from this right here to the fucking circumference of the galaxy and divide its circumference by its diameter, you get pi. Same thing with the square root of 2. Anytime you mess around with computers, anytime you mess around with computer screens, anytime you mess around with printer paper, anytime you make anything cool with computer stuffs or drawing or art, you're fucking around with square root of 2, and it's a cool thing to think about. Science, y'all. Science and math.
The views of Forrest did not necessarily reflect the views on the line. We do not accept that the universe is probably a perfect circle, as apparently Forrest does. But whatever.
When did I say the universe
is a circle?
Isn't it? Well, you said it would equal pi, right? If you took the universe and you took its circumference, but it's that wouldn't work.
Oh, I meant galaxy, not universe. I don't.
Galaxy's not a perfect circle either.
Well, no, but you can draw a circle around one.
You can draw a circle around anything.
The circle, the size of the circle.
I'm just teasing you, buddy.
$20 from JK, Cus I Wanna, and it helps pay for you all. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Tight.
10 pounds. What's that?
It's all going to be a giant letdown. It was 10 pounds from Freya asking, okay, let's see the top. It's literally like the plainest white hoodie. I look like I'm in a cult. I look like, this is our cult attire. Enjoy. I hope somebody asks for the Ben Shapiro thing, but let's get back to your deal.
God.
Wonderful.
They asked again.
You request for the shirt.
Hey, look at that.
Wow.
Give them their money's worth.
Oh my God.
Someone should read it. 99 from Cheryl. Don't want a mad Jimmy. Show us your shirt and go fuck yourself. Thank you. Hey,
$20 from Citizen. What?
Hazel, do you have some sort of water feature behind you? Because this entire show, it has sounded like somebody's slowly peeing in the background.
I have a cat fountain. It's probably too late to unplug it now, but I can.
How many people impulsively felt like they had to pee this episode is what I want to know. No, you're fine.
Oh, good question. Yeah, if you peed more than usual, let us know.
Yeah.
I'll leave it because it goes with the music, I think. It's like it's all very calming.
I want to know how you have a fountain of cats. Like that seems unsustainable. Like, how's that going? Are they liquefied? Are they just whole cats? Like, what's?
I mean, it's probably, I do change the water pretty frequently, but there's probably a very high concentration of cat DNA like soaked into the water in there. It's definitely like a cat fountain on both counts.
Tight.
That's
tight.
Horrific.
Super tight.
I see the shirt is done. Here's some monies for the Shapiro impression. Love you all except you, Jimmy. Go fuck yourself.
All right, so like I said, the voice impression,
New Zealandish dog.
I just sort of talk nerdy when I'm trying to do Ben Shapiro, but the physical thing you have to do is you have to point your nose down and talk up through your eyes and then move your head a lot. Like, fundamentally, the problem that's going on with this is that I talk through my eyebrows. Who understands why? It's fucking weird. Milo Yiannopoulos does the same thing. Milo, he always is looking a bit to the left and then he's looked up. And what does I understand from all this wokeness? Where's the temperature? It's the same thing. Every person. Every one of them.
He's got to be all up in the mic, too.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Little Ben.
Y'all want another one or what?
Damn. Jimmy, your shirt is very lucrative.
At a certain point, you're gonna have to like lose the shirt to make up for all the monies, or like, trade it.
Thousands of dollars for the record. That certain point you're referring to has 5 figures minimum. Anyway, I don't even know how to say this name. Woodingus.
Love it. $10 from Jeff G. I want to get smarter. Please tell me how to get smarter. Do the readings. My favorite thing about reading is that like somebody else worked really, really hard to like put down all of their ideas and thoughts over the course of their lives that they spent years working on, and then I just get to fucking read it. It's like a cheat code. Like this dude worked so hard to come up with ideas and think them out and then debate them and discuss them and put them on paper, and I'm just like, blurp, cool. Now I have that.
Like you could go to school for 5 years to learn all of the things that these people already know, or you could just read what they already know, and then you don't have to go to school for 5 years to understand it. I think I have something to add to that. I'm going to go from a different angle, because I have been feeling very stupid for a little bit, just because I have like a wicked case of the ADHD, and so like I know that I'm a smart person and that I know things, but like sometimes it's like, holy fuck, where are my keys? I'm so stupid. So like to get smarter, there are also certain like biological things that you can do, such as exercise. I hate it, but I have been doing cardio, and it has been making me feel less stupid and more smart and more on my game and more like I can think of thoughts that isn't just like elevator music. That unfortunately, cardio, meditation, all that bullshit makes you smarter. I know, gross.
You can watch more episodes of The Line.
Yeah,
there you go.
That'll make me smarter
too.
There's
significant evidence that like doing cardio exercise and like breaking a sweat at least 2 to 4 times a week, massive brain impact, especially like super important at like abating dementia.
But I don't like it.
One of the most surefire ways to like help fight off dementia later on in life is just exercising to the point of like sweating and getting out like a heart rate. Just do that like at least 3 times a week. So fucking important. Crazy.
When I have places to bike to, I do that, but like I've been working from home, and so it's like I guess I'll run.
Right.
Australian $10
Australian dollars. Yeah.
Pibothulu. I just wanted to say the name Pibothulu. They promised no math. Jimmy lied. Get fecked, Jimmy. Ooh, I love that. Australian get fucked. Go Hazel space.
Surely it's pronounced.
2 votes for
get
2
ficked?
to 3. Get ficked? Yeah, somebody needs to fill that in for me.
Get ficked. I also like the way is it Cogni people? The way they say mats instead of math. Didn't do good in maths.
Maths?
No good in maths. Yeah.
Did you say Cockney? I mean, I feel like
Cockney,
like most.
Who's actually referring to anatomy? Cockney. Cockney.
Cockney. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
$20 from Teener. Jimmy, show me your effing shirt, please.
And I gave away this shirt for free.
Yeah, no, we both made poor choices.
I showed my shirt for $0.
Look at how smug he is.
I've been told that people can tell that I come from white trash because I don't wear things under my sweaters. Apparently that's a white trash thing. It's just fur here, baby.
I also don't do that.
I like the feel of this on my skin. It's a nice. Everybody asking for my shirt, they didn't know they could have asked to see my underwear. An Amazon package arrived.
I'm from the South, so I usually wear like an A shirt and then like whatever shirt and then a jacket and then the hoodie. You know what I mean? Like I'm layers all day long, and it's hot as fuck here, and it sucks, but you do it anyway. Today's like the only time I'm not wearing an undershirt right now. I'm wearing just this t-shirt. It feels like I'm in pajamas. It's crazy.
I think this is the last one, unless people get their chats in right now.
$19.99 from Nicole K. Erbson. Wow, I didn't know I was frickin' with the square root of 2 every time I draw Jimmy's face using my tablet. That's cool as fuck. Thanks, Forrest. I'm glad someone appreciates it. If you want, there's a lot of cool videos out there. You can learn a little bit more about the square root of 2 and why it's awesome. Look up Numberphile. They're a great channel, and they do all sorts of cool stuff about it.
I love simple proofs. I love a simple proof. Infinite primes. Mwah. Great proof. Okay, anyway.
I fucking love Eddie Wu's channel as well. I blew a bunch of high school kids' minds by showing them like how to calculate out like visually doing squaring polynomials. So a plus b squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, not just a squared plus b. And I put that shit on TikTok, and people freaking like loved it. They're like, why has no one ever showed me it this way? Right? It's so much better when you do it with a visual proof. It's amazing.
Math is great when it's not annoying. Math is great when it's not when it's caught well.
Thing. Right. Send $10 and I'll teach you about how to square a polynomial with a visual proof, and it'll be amazing. It'll change your fucking life. It'll change your life. You know what I wanted to be when I was a kid? Did you ever? No, fuck that. Send me money. Did you ever play Math Blaster when you were a kid?
I think so.
Dude, Math Blaster was the best. So there was nice. Jesus Christ.
So
I smelled that all the way over here.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
That's the second time it's happened and it's only on shows with Forrest.
Fucking, it's feeling deliberate.
Sorry. It was not deliberate. This was deliberate.
Oh God.
And then punctuate that with a burp.
Right.
That's what you gotta do.
There was this game called Math Blaster, for those who don't know, and it was fucking awesome. And it was an edutainment game. You played as this little dude in a green spacesuit, and you went around and saved the galaxy using math, and it was awesome. And when I was a kid, the game, it was a Math Blaster 2 In Search of Spot was the one that I had. And like the whole premise of the game is that your little robot buddy Spot gets kidnapped by a trash alien. And this is an alien who is just recklessly driving around through the galaxy, dumping trash everywhere. You want to know how I got radicalized as a child? Here's the premise of the game. Here's the plot. Is that the trash alien steals your buddy Spot. And so you don't know what to do. So you call up the Galactic Commander, the commander of the galaxy. And she tells you that the best way to fucking stop the trash alien is you've got to go blast all the trash out of the sky and convert it into fuel, recycling, and then use the power of mathematics to go fight the trash alien and save your friend. You learn about like activism, you learn about recycling, you learn about renewable energy, you learn about feminism, you learn about so many things from this amazing fucking game, Math Blaster 2 In Search of Spot. And it had a great soundtrack as well. I wanted to be Math Blaster. I still want to be Math Blaster. Send $10 and I'll teach you how to square a polynomial because I'm Math Blaster.
No one sent it, and I
you
got
still
shit
have
to do.
time.
We're like 40 minutes over time. You know that, right?
Yeah, we're having fun.
We're talking about math, Jimmy. Get with it.
What if we just don't end the show?
Get in,
but
nerds.
all of us
We're
do our
math.
individual work with jazz playing, and it's just the windows of us doing work. We're not addressing chat at all. Some sort of garbage 24/7 chat of us getting work done.
Yeah.
Give Hazel her own show to talk about economics
like...
and.
The thing is we can only do shows which will be profitable.
Well, I'm saying, give her a show where she talks about that, and then give me a show which is just me just doing my job. I'll just be sitting here writing, and I won't speak or say anything. You'll listen to me I'll have It's Raining Tacos on a 24-hour loop, just sitting there jamming out to that.
The sad thing,
That's
though,
the whole
is
thing.
like, because we've done this before with other, like, we've had climate scientists and stuff on, it's really hard to get those shows to succeed. It's like really hard.
Yeah.
People are head in the sand about it because they're scared to learn.
Yeah, that's valid. I'm one of those freaks that actually puts a video of somebody else working, like a Pomodoro or something, on my second monitor, and then I like work and do Pomodoros.
You feel accountable. Feel like you're doing it together.
Unhinged, but it's really genuinely helpful. Like tricking my stupid monkey brain into thinking that there's somebody there with me. I don't know, whatever.
For sure. You've got $10 from Lut the Pirate Gut, Forrest plus Hazel plus Awesome Jimmy. Go fuck yourself. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much.
Yep. What more is there to say?
God
Very
damn
kind
it.
of you.
Pirate Barb. How long is this going to take?
Yeah! Teach me polynomials!
How long is this going to take, you think?
It won't take long at all. I can do it in 2 minutes.
All right, so 8 minutes at
I can do it in
least.
2
All right,
minutes.
So
I'm
bad.
gonna mute
Super
myself,
fast.
turn the speakers on, and I'm gonna just go and build a whole ass house in the time it takes you.
Okay, no, really quick. We'll do it super quick, okay? Because a lot of people think that if you do a squared... Oh, fuck. Hold on, wait. If you take this number, a plus b, and you square it, then a lot of people think that it's going to equal just a squared plus b squared. But it fucking doesn't, and I'm going to show you why, okay? Remember, when we
Foil.
square a number, we're building a square out of it, right? 3 squared equals 9, because if I draw a square with side length of 3, then the area of that square is 9. That's why it's called squared. Take that knowledge and turn it into cubed now, and it all makes sense, right? So this is what this is. So now take that knowledge for here. Here's a big-ass square, okay? Here is the length of A, right here. But it's not just A, it's A plus B. So here's the length of B. That's the side of the square. Do the same thing on this side. Here's the length of A, and here's the length of B. Well, look, we can't just do it this way, because if we divide this up into smaller subunits, now this is A squared right here. This has side length of A and A. This down here is B squared. See that? And that's not the whole goddamn shape, is it? There's this and this. This has side length of A and B, so this is AB. That's the area of this shape. And the area of this shape is A and B. So when you add all that up, the area of the square that you made is A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. And that's why polynomials look like that. Because if you just did this, a squared plus b squared, it wouldn't look that way. If you just did a squared plus b squared, it would be a squared and then b squared like that. Totally different fucking shape. So this doesn't make any sense. It's a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And that is how you solve this polynomial. Bam. Think about that. Tell me that doesn't change your fucking life. And yes, you can use the FOIL method, but that doesn't work for everybody. So this way is a visual proof. Makes it make much more sense. Yeah. Science
I'm loving
and
this
shit.
music.
It's fantastic. I feel real jaunty and excitable. I'm gonna tell people all sorts of cool things. That's already over. I stopped talking a minute ago. She's burping. We're all burping.
I had to punctuate the. I'm sure there was latency, but had to be done. Well,
unfortunately,
It was
the
a great
first
show.
time it wasn't going out to everybody. It was only you, and I forgot I had switched it back. So your burp just looked like it was
sorry
out
for
of
burping
nowhere.
in your ear, guys.
It's pretty good though. Pretty good. To the person who said, let's get a vegan atheist on the line. No. Even if I become vegan, we will not ever have a vegan show on the line. That's a promise.
I could
Vegans are
become
barred
vegan.
from
It
the
would be a
line.
very easy change.
We have vegans on
We'll
the
delete
line,
this
but we're not
video.
going to do a vegan show. There are definitely multiple people
Oh,
who
I
are
see.
vegans.
Vegan atheist. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're not doing it. Nor any dedicated
Understood.
episodes. Maybe debates. Maybe.
It's cool shit, dude. But like, I don't want to keep you here forever, and we have been going for a long time. But like, this is a fantastic
This has
show.
been a blast.
Thank you so much
This
for
is so
hanging out
fun.
and talking
Yeah,
about
thank
your
you
area of
for-
expertise.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a blast. That was super fun. Loved talking to people. Loved spying on chat. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. To everybody out there in the audience land, we appreciate you tuning in. If you like this show and you want to see more shows like it, please consider subscribing and also maybe becoming a channel member or joining the Patreon or whatever. You can also find me up on them internets. You can find my Patreon and my YouTube and my TikTok and all those things as well. And Hazel, where can they find you?
I am everywhere on the internet as @HazelIsOnline, except for on Twitter, where I'm HazelIs_online, for no good reason, because there is no Hazel is online, yet alas. So that's
Yes,
where
there
I'm
is.
at.
There is.
It's
I was looking for you
_online.
yesterday, and there's a person who has that username. I thought you were saying that doesn't exist.
Well, there
someone
used to
stole
be.
it.
Like when I first tried to do it, nobody had that username, but they were like, you can't have it. I'm like, why?
They were probably suspended or like temporarily deactivated. One of those things.
Well, there you go. Hazel is online. I'm online. I think that's all I have to plug. There you go.
Sweet. All right. Well, have an awesome rest of your night, everybody. Thanks so much again for tuning in. Thanks to the chat mods, and thanks to the call screeners, and thanks to everybody else. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank
you.
Never
stop learning.
Thank you. And
Bye-bye.
I hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Is that correct?
Tight.
I believe it is.
Great.